Macedonia rose from rugged northern hills. Wines carried whispers of coming power. Tribes stood firm against shifting borders. How did this land shape a conqueror? Early kings forged unity through resilience. Clans merged under disciplined royal rule. Territories strengthened with strategic alliances. What foundation prepared Macedonia for greatness? Borders expanded through relentless determination. Hills transformed into strong organized realms. Loyalty grew beneath emerging Macedonian authority. What ambition drove these early rulers? Philip II reshaped warfare with genius. Phalanxes marched with unmatched deadly precision. Tactics revolutionized ancient battlefield strategies. How did one king change war forever? Greek city-states bowed to Macedonian power. Old rivalries faded under firm leadership. Unity replaced centuries of bitter division. What promise convinced Greece to stand united? Philip's reforms created a formidable army. Training forged soldiers into fearless machines. Discipline turned weakness into unstoppable strength. What empire could challenge such force? A grand vision stirred within Macedonia. Dreams stretched far beyond Aegean shores. Ambition reached toward distant legendary kingdoms. How does a nation imagine conquering worlds? Maps widened under Macedonian imagination. Deserts, mountains, and empires became goals. Destiny felt larger than mortal limits. What awaited them beyond familiar frontiers? A young prince prepared for greatness. Lessons shaped him for a future conquest. His spirit burned with extraordinary purpose. What destiny awaited the child Alexander? The stage formed for rising legend. History neared its most dramatic turning. A conqueror prepared to reshape continents. How would Alexander leave his eternal mark? Rugged mountains shaped their earliest wandering paths. Cold winds carved discipline into generations. Hidden valleys sheltered families seeking survival. Northern Greece became cradle of beginnings. Stone ridges guarded villages from sudden threats. Life formed around scarcity, strength, resilience. Hard terrain demanded unity and cooperation. Every sunrise tested endurance and resolve. Streams cut through forests, feeding early homes. Shepherds roamed slopes with loyal companions. Fields were small yet fiercely protected. Nature dictated rhythm of daily toil. Winter storms isolated clans for months. Firelight carried stories of ancestors. Children learned courage through harsh seasons. Survival itself became their silent teacher. Mountain passes connected them to others. Trade slowly stitched relationships between settlements. Paths carved by feet became lifelines. Movement shaped identity of wandering clans. Forests echoed with calls of hunters. Tracking skills defined their early society. Food meant bravery, patience, and precision. The land rewarded only the determined. Villages grew where rivers met rock. Strategic spots offered safety and food. Homes spread across rising foothills. A kingdom's seed quietly took root. Wooden huts clustered against steep slopes. Smoke rose like signals of life. Families worked soil hardened by centuries. Simple tools built foundations of legacy. Every household relied on shared strength. Neighbors stood together through constant uncertainty. Trust formed deeper than spoken promises. Survival forged bonds stronger than iron. Early leaders emerged from humble dwellings. Respect was earned through bravery alone. Their guidance shaped these scattered communities. Unity began with mountains as witness. Travelers brought stories from distant lands. Tales sparked curiosity beyond their borders. Dreams formed from whispers of opportunity. Desire for growth stirred in hearts. The land felt both harsh, generous. Mountains tested spirit and preserved culture. People adapted to every shifting season. Their identity echoed through rugged landscapes. Villages expanded as families multiplied. Paths turned into permanent gathering spaces. Communities learned to protect shared territory. Roots deepened across northern Greek soil. Here, the Macedonian story first breathed. Among peaks, rivers, and restless winds, a people shaped by endurance rose. Foundations of empire began forming quietly. A land toughened bodies and minds, mountains forged resilience unmatched in Greece. This harsh home birthed future conquerors. Macedonia began in silence. Strength, struggle. Tribal banners fluttered across rugged hills. Families gathered under ancestral warrior chiefs. Kinship shaped every decision and alliance. Bloodlines defined loyalty, honor, duty. Warrior training began in early childhood. Boys learned discipline beside seasoned fighters. Strength was praised more than wealth. Survival depended on courage, unity, resolve. Every clan held its sacred traditions. Rituals honored spirits of fallen ancestors. Stories carried memories through generations. Identity grew from lineage and valor. Feasts marked victories and seasonal changes. Elders recited tales of ancient battles. Young listeners absorbed every heroic detail. Bravery became language of their culture. Warriors forged weapons through shared skill. Iron blades symbolized pride and readiness. Hunts doubled as combat training grounds. Nature became partner in shaping strength. Clans gathered for decisions of conflict. Councils formed around fires at dusk, each voice weighed by reputation earned. Respect flowed through demonstrated valor only. Kinship offered security during uncertainty. Families defended each other without hesitation. Shared duty held communities tightly together. Unity became shield against surrounding threats. Rivalries existed, yet rarely fractured bonds. Internal disputes resolved through ancient customs. Honor demanded fairness among respected kin. Balance maintained harmony within tribal society. Women held vital roles in clans. They guarded homes, land, and memory. Wisdom shaped choices through unseen influence. Strength existed beyond battlefield traditions. Initiation rites marked passage into adulthood. Warrior candidates faced grueling entrance trials. Fearlessness was rewarded with earned recognition. Society valued courage above every possession. Music echoed from hills during gatherings. Drums carried rhythm of ancestral pride. Dance celebrated unity across diverse clans. Culture thrived through shared tribal spirit. Migrating herds influenced seasonal movements. Clans traveled together across highlands. Protection strengthened with combined warrior forces. Every journey reinforced loyalty within kinships. Foreign threats hardened their collective resolve. Clans united against invaders with determination. Each battle refined their fighting identity. Tribal resilience grew with every conflict. Bonded warriors formed Macedonia's earliest backbone. Kinship shaped leaders and future kings. Unity forged strength unmatched in Greece. Tribal culture laid foundation for greatness. From these bonds emerged fierce determination. Warrior pride governed every aspect daily. Kin networks fueled loyalty to rulers. Macedonia's heart beat through tribal brotherhood. Border tensions simmered across rocky frontiers. Neighboring city-states watched Macedonia cautiously. Skirmishes erupted over grazing territories. Conflict became rhythm of their survival. Raids tested defenses almost every season. Warriors guarded passes with unbroken vigilance. Enemy scouts roamed foothills, seeking weakness. Every horizon held threat of invasion. Early battles were small yet fierce. Clans united quickly when danger approached. Warriors fought defending land and reputation. Honor sharpened resolve on every battlefield. Greek hoplites marched toward northern borders. Their formations challenged Macedonian loose tactics. Clashes taught lessons through painful losses. Adaptation began shaping future strategies. Villages fortified walls using crude timber. Lookouts signaled threats from distant ridges. Alarm fires blazed across night skies. Communities prepared long before enemies arrived. Conflicts forged respect among rival states. Macedonians proved resilience through relentless defense. Determination impressed foes, despite disadvantages. Courage outweighed armor and polished shields. Diplomats attempted peace in uneasy times. Talks often failed due to mistrust. Small victories shifted balance repeatedly. War remained constant presence in life. Young warriors gained experience rapidly. Battles hardened them beyond their years. Losses carved wisdom into tribal memory. Strength evolved with every confrontation endured. Rival states underestimated Macedonian persistence. They misread unity within tribal ranks. Surprise counterattacks overturned enemy expectations. Reputation grew despite frequent territorial struggles. Seasonal disputes centered on fertile plains. Farmers feared raids during harvest months. Communities shielded crops with armed patrols. Every resource carried risk of conflict. Greek generals studied Macedonian tactics closely. Unpredictability troubled their disciplined formations. Terrain knowledge favored northern fighters greatly. Mountains became Macedonians' silent battlefield allies. Treaties occasionally paused violent cycles, but peace rarely lasted many months. Old grievances resurfaced with little provocation. Tension flowed endlessly across shared borders. Macedonian identity strengthened through conflict. War shaped leaders long before kingship. Survival demanded strategy, courage, cooperation. Pressure molded society into hardened warriors. These early clashes taught vital lessons. They prepared clans for greater struggles. Future unification began within constant warfare. Conflict forged path toward rising power. Mountain winds carried echoes of battle. Generations learned strength through confrontation. From strife emerged determination for dominance. Macedonia sharpened itself against Greek neighbors. Greek traders crossed borders carrying stories. Their languages blended with northern dialects. Ideas traveled faster than caravans moved. Cultures met on winding mountain routes. Temples rose inspired by Greek designs. Stone columns echoed classical artistic influence. Craftsmen learned techniques from southern masters. Sculpture became bridge between distant worlds. Myths reached Macedonia through traveling poets. Gods transformed from strangers into guides. Legends shaped rituals across growing villages. Belief systems softened rigid tribal boundaries. Festivals adopted elements of Greek celebrations. Music blended rhythms from both cultures. Dancers mirrored movements seen in city-states. Shared joy fostered cultural transformation slowly. Greek philosophy intrigued Macedonian thinkers deeply. Questions about fate sparked intellectual curiosity. Wisdom spread through discussions in gathering spaces. Knowledge became valued alongside warrior strength. Artists carved stories into wooden shrines. Designs mirrored aesthetics of Greek workshops. Painted pottery carried blended cultural symbols. Art unified contrasting traditions with ease. Merchants introduced foreign clothing and styles. Tunics replaced older tribal garments gradually. Fashion reflected shifting social connections. Appearances mirrored growing Greek influence. Religious practices underwent subtle evolution. Old deities merged with Olympian figures. Shrines honored both ancestral and Greek gods. Spiritual identity deepened through cultural fusion. Teachers from south visited emerging towns. They shared learning with eager youth. Writing spread across tribes seeking knowledge. Education became pathway to elevated status. Greek dramas influenced local storytellers heavily. Heroic tales shifted toward structured narratives. Performances echoed themes of justice, destiny. Culture flourished through shared theatrical traditions. Trade expanded artistic materials and tools. Bronze, dyes, and pigments arrived frequently. Craftsmanship reached unprecedented creative heights. Beauty became expression of evolving identity. Greek architecture inspired grander building concepts. Villages sought symmetry and purposeful design. Public spaces reflected growing civic awareness. Aesthetic harmony emerged across Macedonian landscapes. Athletic contests followed Greek sporting customs. Warriors tested skill beyond battlefield demands. Competition strengthened unity between tribes. Sports nurtured discipline, respect, camaraderie. Cultural blending shaped early Macedonian character. Greek wisdom enriched their native traditions. Both worlds created balanced, evolving society. Influence shaped destiny of rising kingdom. From art to faith, transformation spread. Macedonia absorbed Greece without losing self. Fusion forged a distinct cultural identity. Future greatness grew from shared inspiration. Local chiefs once ruled scattered communities. Each clan followed its seasoned leader. Power shifted constantly based on reputation. Unity remained fragile across rugged lands. Rising threats demanded stronger coordination. Clans needed leadership beyond tribal boundaries. Consensus formed around a single authority. Macedonia slowly moved toward monarchy. Early kings emerged through earned respect. Warrior leaders proved guidance during crises. People accepted rule for shared stability. Authority grew from necessity, not force. Kings consolidated influence over key regions. They united clans through diplomacy efforts. Alliances strengthened loyalty among rival families. Shared goals began shaping political landscape. Leaders standardized rules across settlements. Disputes resolved through consistent legal structures. Order replaced previous chaos and uncertainty. Governance expanded past narrow tribal customs. Royal envoys traveled between distant villages. They carried messages of unity, organization. Communication strengthened control and understanding. People felt connected to central authority. Kings organized warriors into structured forces. Military discipline improved defensive capability. Unified ranks replaced scattered clan fighters. Strength increased with coordinated command. Agriculture benefited from centralized policies. Resources gathered efficiently during harvest seasons. Surpluses supported armies and construction. Stability depended on shared economic growth. Royal courts introduced early administrative roles. Scribes recorded decisions, taxes, agreements. Documentation created predictability in governance. Order spread across expanding territories gradually. Religious leaders supported emerging monarchy. Sacred rites blessed authority of kings. Spiritual unity reinforced political progression. Faith anchored loyalty to royal power. Rival chiefs recognized growing royal strength. Some resisted change for personal influence. Most adapted to avoid internal conflict. Monarchy strengthened through strategic cooperation. Central authority protected borders more effectively. Neighboring states acknowledged Macedonian cohesion. Reputation grew beyond tribal limitations quickly. Kingdom identity replaced fragmented clan identity. Royal families established dynastic succession. Leadership passed smoothly across generations. Continuity strengthened trust among all clans. Future stability depended on predictable inheritance. Political unity transformed Macedonian society permanently. Clans merged into collective national purpose. Authority flowed from throne across mountains. Power centralized with disciplined intentional progress. This foundation prepared Macedonia for greatness. Monarchy shaped destiny of rising kingdom. Centralization forged strength from scattered tribes. Empire's roots formed through steady unification. Discover the epic journey of Macedonia today. Witness how ambition reshaped the ancient world. Learn from strategies, culture, and visionary leadership. Subscribe and explore history's greatest empires with us. Philip studied weaknesses of old warfare. Battles revealed flaws in scattered formations. He envisioned unity shaping battlefield precision. Strategy became foundation of future dominance. The phalanx emerged from disciplined ranks. Spears extended further than enemy reach. Shields locked into seamless moving walls. Soldiers advanced like a single creature, training hardened men beyond normal limits. Daily drills forged instinctive coordination instantly. No movement occurred without calculated purpose. Unity replaced chaos within marching columns. Sarissa stretched longer than Greek spears. Their length transformed tactics across Greece. Enemies struggled against overwhelming distance advantage. Philip reshaped battlefield engagement forever. Foot soldiers learned trust through repetition. Every step matched rhythm of comrades. Strength lived in collective disciplined movement. Courage multiplied when soldiers moved united. Cavalry became Philip's decisive battlefield edge. Noble horsemen formed elite companion units. Speed struck with devastating sudden precision. Warfare evolved into coordinated shock tactics. Cavalry charges paired with phalanx advance. Enemy lines collapsed under combined pressure. The forces acted like single weapon. Philip perfected harmony between infantry, cavalry. Armor was redesigned for mobility. Soldiers moved faster across difficult terrain. Light equipment increased endurance and range. Flexibility became advantage against rigid hoplites. Tactics emphasized battlefield unpredictability. Surprise maneuvers caught enemies unprepared. Philip introduced feints to destabilize formations. Strategy blended deception with overwhelming force. Officers trained under strict expectations. Loyalty ensured precision in every command. Hierarchy strengthened communication during battles. Orders flowed clearly from center outward. Veterans mentored newly recruited soldiers. Skill passed smoothly through disciplined generations. Experience shaped young fighters into professionals. Army culture evolved under Philip's reforms. Drills simulated real battlefield scenarios. Stress hardened soldiers' mental resilience. Courage became second nature through training. Fear faded beneath disciplined routine. Phalanx depth increased battlefield pressure. Layered ranks supported prolonged engagements. Endurance allowed slow, crushing advances. Philip mastered strength through structured patience. Cavalry wings protected advancing phalanx. Enemies trapped between spears and horses. Encirclement became hallmark of Macedonian tactics. Philip perfected coordinated battlefield domination. These reforms reshaped ancient military history. Macedonia rose through discipline and innovation. Philip built unstoppable machine for conquest. Empire began with vision of warfare. Philip understood power beyond battlefield victories. Diplomacy offered influence without spilling blood. Alliances shaped future more than conquest. Wisdom guided every calculated diplomatic step. Strategic marriages expanded networks of loyalty. Royal unions forged ties across kingdoms. Each marriage strengthened political stability further. Relationships became tools of national expansion. Noble families sought Philip's growing favor. Their daughters linked clans to monarchy. Trust deepened through bonds of kinship. Unity spread silently across neighboring lands. Diplomatic envoys traveled to distant courts. They carried offers of mutual cooperation. Allies recognized benefits of Macedonian friendship. Peace agreements replaced older hostilities gradually. Marriages prevented wars before they began. Rival clans avoided conflict through kinship. Blood ties softened long-standing generational enmities. Diplomacy healed divisions across fractious regions. Philip negotiated with remarkable patience always. He understood timing shaped political outcomes. Small concessions secured enormous long-term gains. Strategy flowed through thoughtful diplomatic precision. Gifts and promises strengthened fragile alliances. Kings accepted terms benefiting both sides. Macedonia appeared generous yet calculated carefully. Philip expanded influence through deliberate kindness. Regional leaders sought Macedonian protection willingly. Security guaranteed stability for their territories. Philip's reach extended without open conflict. Diplomacy built empire foundations quietly. Marriages created webs of intertwined loyalties. No rival could easily challenge unity. Families bound by oath resisted rebellion. Bloodline networks supported growing Macedonian power. Philip settled disputes through peaceful negotiations. His counsel respected by rival leaders. Wisdom earned admiration across Greek world. Influence increased without using force. Shared interests replaced former rivalries quickly. Trade routes flourished through mutual agreements. Prosperity strengthened bonds between allied states. Diplomacy enhanced economic foundations immensely. Philip's reputation grew among foreign courts. He mastered balance between firmness, respect. Every alliance increased Macedonia's strategic depth. Authority expanded through subtle political maneuvering. Greek cities acknowledged Philip's rising dominance. Many preferred peace over costly battles. Diplomacy achieved what armies once demanded. Philip reshaped Greece through strategic alliances. Marital ties ensured loyalty across generations. Legacy preserved through webs of royal kin. Future stability depended on these connections. Empire strengthened through careful diplomatic engineering. Diplomacy extended Macedonian reach peacefully. Strategic marriages fortified every gained advantage. Philip's vision blended love and politics. Expansion thrived through mastery of alliances. Philip prepared Macedonia for decisive military action. Greek city-states remained fragmented, ripe for conquest. He studied their weaknesses and alliances carefully. Strategy combined diplomacy with calculated battlefield force. The battlefields tested courage, skill, and discipline. Macedonian phalanx crushed disorganized city armies. Cavalry exploited gaps with deadly precision. Enemies learned fear under Philip's command. Cities surrendered when resistance proved futile. Leaders recognized strength of unified Macedonia. Some preferred alliance over complete destruction. Corinthian League formed through calculated persuasion. League included most powerful Greek city-states. Member states retained autonomy under Philip's oversight. Shared defense against Persia became central principle. Unity strengthened through collective military organization. Athens and Sparta hesitated to resist effectively. Internal rivalries weakened their coordinated response. Philip exploited divisions to expand influence. Strategy relied on patience and observation. Corinthian League symbolized Greek recognition of power. Philip chaired meetings with unquestioned authority. Member states pledged loyalty to Macedonian king. League formalized Macedonia's leadership across Greece. Battles reinforced Philip's reputation as tactician. Victory spread loyalty and respect throughout region. Cities joined willingly, seeking protection and advantage. Macedonia became unquestioned hegemon of Greek politics. Diplomatic promises accompanied every military campaign. Cities retained freedoms, but accepted central guidance. Corinthian League balanced autonomy with allegiance. Philip maintained unity through clever negotiation. Allies contributed troops and resources efficiently. Shared military strength and defense, and collective security. League structure mirrored Philip's organizational genius. Power extended without direct domination always. League established lasting political framework for Greece. Philip centralized command without crushing independence. Military and political strategy worked hand in hand. Empire expanded methodically across contested lands. Rival Greek factions attempted minor rebellions. Philip responded with swift, calculated suppression. Strength of phalanx and cavalry ensured victory. Discipline cemented Macedonia's superiority permanently. Corinthian League laid groundwork for future campaigns. Greece now under Macedonian influence subtly. Philip's vision united disparate city-states peacefully. Authority secured through strategic military genius, Macedonia emerged as dominant regional power. Corinthian League symbolized unity under leadership. Philip's conquest reshaped Hellenic political landscape. Greek history entered era of Macedonian supremacy. Philip recognized well-fueled military ambition. Economy became foundation of Macedonian power. He invested in agriculture and mining industries. Resources supported army and growing kingdom efficiently. Irrigation projects expanded fertile farmland rapidly. Crops increased to feed cities and soldiers. Food security reduced internal instability risks. Farmers prospered under organized economic policies. Mines yielded silver, gold, and valuable ores. Metals funded weapons, armor, and fortifications. Trade routes expanded to distant markets. Macedonia integrated into regional commercial networks. Roads connected distant settlements and cities. Transportation improved military movement and commerce. Merchants traveled safely across well-guarded routes. Infrastructure linked mountains, plains, and valleys. Urban centers grew under royal oversight. New marketplaces promoted trade and economic growth. Skilled craftsmen produced goods for local demand. Workshops thrived alongside agricultural expansion initiatives. Taxes collected systematically without burdening citizens. Revenue supported military, administration, and public works. Economy stabilized under efficient royal management. Growth allowed long-term kingdom development planning. Fortifications strengthened towns against external threats. Walls protected population and economic resources. Macedonia's cities became hubs of security. Infrastructure improvements reinforced Philip's central authority. Harbors facilitated trade with Mediterranean partners. Ships transported goods across distant coasts. Exports included metals, grains, and livestock. Macedonia gained wealth and regional recognition. Bridges and roads reduced isolation dramatically. Communication improved among distant villages and towns. Information traveled quickly to royal court. Philip maintained oversight over all territories. Craftsmen and artisans received royal patronage. Artistic production reflected wealth and sophistication. Economy and culture grew hand in hand steadily. Public works inspired loyalty among citizens. Markets attracted merchants from far regions. Economic prosperity increased citizens' support for monarchy. Wealth allowed Philip to reward loyal subjects. Financial power reinforced political and military strength. Mining, agriculture, and trade supported campaigns. Soldiers received pay and supplies reliably. Economic stability ensured readiness for conquest. Macedonia's wealth became a tool of dominance. Infrastructure projects symbolized centralized royal vision. Roads, cities, and markets reflected organized governance. Strong economy enabled long-term expansion plans. Philip built Macedonia into a sustainable powerhouse. Philip molded soldiers into an unstoppable force. Discipline became cornerstone of army's identity. Training hardened bodies and sharpened strategic minds. Every warrior knew role in battle, field precisely. Drills repeated until movements became instinctive. Coordination ensured phalanx moved like living wall. Cavalry trained for speed and decisive strikes. Combined forces acted as single lethal unit. Strict hierarchy maintained order under pressure. Commanders executed plans without hesitation. Obedience strengthened cohesion and battlefield effectiveness. Loyalty tied soldiers to king personally. Recruitment focused on skill, endurance, and bravery. Veterans mentored young warriors in combat. Experience blended with innovation in tactics. Army evolved into elite fighting machine. Weapons and armor standardized across units. Spear lengths, shields, and protective gear matched. Consistency enhanced coordination and minimized confusion. Efficiency became hallmark of Philip's military. Cavalry integrated seamlessly with infantry formations. Flanking maneuvers disrupted enemy lines. Speed and surprise became powerful battlefield tools. Philip perfected harmony of all units. Logistics ensured soldiers always well supplied. Food, weapons, and armor distributed strategically. Campaigns could proceed without disruption or delay. Preparation became key to military success. Soldiers trained in all-terrain conditions. Mountains, plains, and rivers posed challenges. Adaptability allowed army to confront any opposition. Philip emphasized versatility alongside strength and discipline. Morale was nurtured through victories and rewards. Recognition reinforced loyalty and commitment consistently. Army shared purpose under visionary leadership. Pride became weapon alongside phalanx and cavalry. Campaign simulations tested strategic and tactical skills. Mistakes corrected swiftly under strict supervision. Performance improved continuously through rigorous evaluation. Preparedness defined armies' unprecedented battlefield reliability. Philip instilled courage alongside calculated aggression. Soldiers learned when to strike decisively. Timing and precision outweighed sheer force. Intellect guided physical prowess in battle. Army became model for future conquests. Alexander inherited fully disciplined, battle-ready forces. Structure ensured smooth execution of grand campaigns. Foundation laid for expansion beyond Macedonia. Discipline, training, and loyalty forged power. Military strength reinforced political and economic stability. Philip transformed Macedonia into a formidable kingdom. Legacy lived in armies' enduring effectiveness. The kingdom mourned its fallen, mighty king. Chaos threatened stability across northern lands. Power struggled to fill vacant royal throne. Alexander emerged, young yet uncheckable immediately. He faced rivals within Macedonian courts swiftly. Courtiers questioned youth and inexperienced leadership. Alexander asserted authority with unwavering confidence. Strength and vision silenced hesitant nobles quickly. Soldiers loyal to Philip watched warily. Alexander honored father's legacy with respect. He promised continuation of military dominance. Trust rebuilt slowly among skeptical generals. Royal guards swore fealty to the new king. Every move reinforced his growing authority. Political enemies plotted, but met resistance. Alexander acted decisively to secure succession. Coronations celebrated unity amid grief's shadow. Macedonians rallied behind ambitious, determined ruler. Leadership inspired hope throughout troubled kingdom. Youth and courage became symbols of power. Rival factions challenged him openly at first. Alexander crushed opposition with strategic precision. Diplomacy balanced with firm displays of strength. Enemies realized defiance risked swift consequences. He inherited army, treasury, and empire. Military loyalty became key to his rule. Generals swore allegiance despite uncertain future. Discipline ensured smooth transition of power. Macedonian cities required reassurance of stability. Alexander toured regions to consolidate loyalty. People witnessed confident ruler asserting control. Authority extended across mountains, valleys, and plains. Advisors cautioned patience, yet he moved quickly. Decisive action established respect and fear simultaneously. Leadership demanded both wisdom and boldness combined. Alexander embodied qualities of both king, warrior. Funerals honored Philip, strengthening Alexander's legitimacy. Tributes reminded citizens of royal continuity. Memory of father inspired national unity. Legacy became bridge between old and new. Young king faced immediate foreign threats looming. Neighboring states tested Macedonia's perceived weakness. Alexander prepared army for swift response. Every decision shaped future empire's trajectory. Courts filled with whispers of ambition silently. Alexander listened, learned, and acted judiciously. Every move calculated to maintain dominance. Tactics mirrored battlefield strategy within political arena. Coronation marked beginning of legendary reign. Macedonia entered era of unprecedented ambition. Youth became symbol of unstoppable momentum. Alexander's journey started from throne's shadow. Unity preserved through swift decisive actions. Kingdoms stabilized despite turbulence and unrest. Soldiers, nobles, and citizens gradually aligned. Macedonia's future rested on new rulers' shoulders. Alexander rose not merely by birthright. Charisma, intellect, and courage commanded loyalty. Empire watched, anticipating the rise of greatness. A new era dawned across northern Greece. Alexander led army beyond familiar Macedonian lands. Persian Empire loomed vast, powerful, imposing. Soldiers marched through deserts, rivers, and mountains. Every step brought risk and growing anticipation. Siege engines prepared before approaching Persian cities. Scouts gathered intelligence on enemy positions. Cavalry advanced swiftly to scout all flanks. Precision planning guided every military maneuver carefully. Crossing Hellespont marked first major campaign milestone. Asia Minor awaited conquest under Macedonian banners. Cities resisted, yet discipline overcame resistance efficiently. Alexander inspired courage through leading from front. At Granicus River, battle-tested resolve. Persian satraps underestimated youthful, relentless commander. Phalanx and cavalry crushed enemy formations effectively. Victory echoed across entire Anatolian region swiftly. Army pressed deeper into heart of Persia. Sieges, negotiations, and skirmishes filled months. Local populations surrendered or allied strategically. Alexander balanced force with calculated diplomacy carefully. Troy inspired soldiers through legendary reminders. Greek culture motivated troops during long marches. Morale became essential in vast and familiar lands. Stories of heroism spread across every camp. Egypt welcomed Alexander as liberator and king. Oracle of Siwa confirmed divine legitimacy publicly. Pharaoh crowned young Macedonian with ceremonial respect. Local support strengthened empire's southern expansion rapidly. Egyptian resources fueled further conquests into Asia. Grain, gold, and manpower strengthened Macedonian campaigns. Logistics ensured army remained fed and equipped. Sustainability maintained momentum of relentless expansion forcefully. Sieges in Asia Minor revealed strategic genius. City walls fell under innovative assault tactics. Engineering expertise complemented disciplined phalanx formations. Every conquest reinforced armies' confidence and efficiency. Resistance often quelled through negotiation, not bloodshed. Alexander rewarded cooperation to reduce unnecessary conflict. Loyalty replaced fear in conquered territories gradually. Governance combined strategy with pragmatic leadership effectively. Army adapted to desert, mountain, and river. Marches tested endurance, yet forged unity strongly. Cohesion strengthened under harsh environmental pressures consistently. Soldiers learned to trust commander above all. Local rulers either resisted or became allies. Alexander's reputation spread faster than army movements. Fear, respect, and admiration shaped new empire. Victory created momentum impossible to halt gradually. Campaigns across Persia, Egypt, and Anatolia succeeded. Every victory expanded Macedonian influence decisively. Empire grew far beyond homeland boundaries rapidly. Alexander's ambition became unstoppable and relentless. Alexander faced cities built to resist siege. Walls rose high, daunting, and nearly impenetrable. Traditional assaults often failed against fortified defenses. Innovation became key to conquering every stronghold. He used battering rams to break gates. Siege towers allowed troops to scale towering walls. Bridges connected towers to city fortifications carefully. Every tool designed to exploit defensive weakness. Engineers built artillery for launching deadly missiles. Stones, fire, and arrows rained upon defenders. Psychological pressure shattered enemy morale gradually. Fear weakened walls as much as weapons. Mining tunnels dug beneath city foundations secretly. Walls collapsed from undermined support silently. Surprise attacks disrupted defenders' coordination completely. Cunning and patience defined Alexander's siege strategies. Combined arms integrated infantry, cavalry, and engineers. Phalanx maintained pressure while flanking units attacked. Flexibility allowed adaptation to every obstacle. Tactics evolved with every siege encountered successfully. River crossings became platforms for tactical advantage. Bridges and pontoons allowed army rapid movement. Engineering and logistics ensured seamless offensive operations. Preparation turned impossible assaults into achievable victories. Scouting revealed hidden weaknesses in enemy fortifications. Maps and local guides enhanced operational efficiency. Adaptation ensured minimal casualties during prolonged sieges. Alexander's genius combined intelligence with decisive action. Naval coordination aided coastal city conquests effectively. Ships provided artillery support from nearby harbors. Sea power complemented land-based siege strategies. Alexander exploited every environmental advantage available efficiently. Deception and diversion distracted defenders consistently. Feigned retreats lured opponents from walls. Ambushes maximized impact on unsuspecting enemies. Creativity redefined traditional battlefield conventions entirely. Supplies and logistics supported long campaigns strategically. Food, water, and ammunition maintained army stamina. Preparation ensured relentless pressure against fortified cities. Alexander transformed prolonged sieges into systematic victories. Troops trained to endure harsh conditions relentlessly. Morale maintained through leadership, rewards, and discipline. Confidence grew with each successful tactical maneuver. Faith in commander became army's greatest weapon. Every victory reinforced reputation across conquered lands. Cities surrendered faster, fearing innovative tactics. Alexander's name became synonymous with military brilliance. Legends spread about unstoppable Macedonian strategies. Flexibility and creativity ensured battlefield dominance consistently. Opponents could never predict Macedonian maneuvers fully. Strategic thinking became hallmark of every engagement. Alexander combined intellect with courage flawlessly. Siegecraft innovations reshaped warfare across civilizations. Macedonian army became model of tactical excellence. Every campaign refined skills and ingenuity further. Alexander's methods influenced future generations profoundly. Alexander dreamed of leaving lasting cultural legacy. Cities became symbols of Macedonian influence everywhere. Urban planning reflected Greek architectural brilliance carefully. Population, commerce, and culture thrived within walls. Alexandria rose on the Nile's western bank. Harbors facilitated trade across Mediterranean waters. Libraries preserved knowledge for scholars and citizens. City became beacon of learning and wisdom. Urban grids reflected order, strategy, and vision. Marketplaces connected local and foreign merchants efficiently. Public spaces encouraged discourse, debate, and governance. Architecture symbolized power and Macedonian civilization. Alexander's cities acted as cultural melting pots. Local customs merged with Hellenistic traditions carefully. Art, religion, and science spread harmoniously. Population embraced hybrid identity across diverse regions. Founding cities ensured long-term Macedonian presence. Settlers included veterans, artisans, and traders. Military garrisons protected strategic economic hubs. Every city reinforced empire's political control securely. Libraries collected texts from conquered territories deliberately. Scholars traveled freely across empire's educational centers. Knowledge spread faster than armies or messengers. Hellenistic learning influenced science, philosophy, and art. Monuments celebrated victories and Macedonian kings proudly. Temples, statues, and public buildings impressed citizens. Symbolism reinforced authority and cultural dominance firmly. Artistic legacy strengthened empire's enduring identity. Trade networks expanded along urban corridors strategically. Goods, ideas, and innovations flowed freely. Cities became hubs of wealth and culture. Economic prosperity accompanied intellectual flourishing equally. Alexander encouraged Greek settlers in foreign cities. Integration promoted loyalty and shared cultural identity. New citizens participated in civic and social life. Hellenistic civilization blended diversity with unity effectively. Founding Alexandria inspired other cities across empire. Strategic locations ensured influence in distant regions. Each city served military, economic, cultural purposes. Planning reflected foresight and imperial vision clearly. Education and culture flourished alongside military conquest. Libraries, theaters, and academies attracted global minds. Cities became centers of knowledge and power. Alexander ensured empire's cultural dominance long-lasting. Urbanization solidified Macedonian presence across continents. Architecture, philosophy, and commerce reflected imperial strategy. Hellenistic culture spread faster than any army. Legacy endured centuries beyond Alexander's lifetime. Alexander imagined one world under Macedonian banner. Borders disappeared under shared law and order. Diverse cultures blended under central authority carefully. Unity became goal beyond mere conquest efforts. He married local princesses to secure loyalty. Integration strengthened bonds between conquered populations smoothly. Shared customs encouraged peace across vast territories. Empire thrived through cultural and political fusion. Greek language became bridge across distant lands. Trade, education, and philosophy linked communities tightly. Citizens learned from neighboring traditions consistently. Hellenistic culture spread with every new city. Religious tolerance maintained harmony within empire successfully. Local gods revered alongside Macedonian and Greek divinities. Respect fostered loyalty among diverse populations steadily. Faith became tool for unity, not division. Army served as instrument of empire's cohesion. Veterans settled across newly founded cities deliberately. Discipline and loyalty reinforced political integration consistently. Military presence ensured compliance and stability effectively. Alexander encouraged scholarship and scientific inquiry broadly. Libraries and academies connected thinkers from everywhere. Knowledge became shared across previously isolated lands. Learning reinforced sense of common Hellenistic identity. Diplomacy supplemented military conquest for long-term stability. Alliances maintained order without constant warfare necessarily. Negotiation reduced rebellion and strengthened governance. Empire's cohesion relied on skillful statesmanship equally. Roads connected cities, armies, and trade networks. Infrastructure enabled administration across vast regions efficiently. Communication unified distant provinces under central control. Empire functioned as single, integrated systems strategically. Alexander envisioned fusion of East and West. Persian, Egyptian, and Greek cultures coexisted peacefully. Exchange of ideas, art, and technology flourished. Hellenistic civilization became bridge between civilizations successfully. Marriage, culture, and administration reinforced global ambition. Families, cities, and armies shared imperial vision. Identity expanded beyond local or national boundaries. Unity became philosophy guiding every policy decision. Governors implemented law consistently across territories. Justice applied with combination of fairness and authority. Local traditions preserved while aligning with empire. Administration balanced control with cultural sensitivity carefully. Alexander sought legacy beyond fleeting military glory. Empire symbolized order, culture, and shared knowledge. His vision transcended kingdoms, tribes, and nations. Macedonian influence spread far beyond battlefield victories. Ideas of unity persisted long after death. Hellenistic culture shaped civilizations for centuries. Legacy of vision inspired rulers across history. Alexander's dream of a connected world endured. The phalanx formed Macedonia's unstoppable frontline force. Spears locked, shields created moving iron wall. Soldiers advanced together as a single unit. Discipline ensured precision under enemy pressure constantly. Training repeated every maneuver until instinctive. Coordination made phalanx almost impossible to break. Enemy lines faltered against unyielding spear formation. Strength multiplied when soldiers moved as one. Long services extended far beyond traditional reach. Distance allowed attacks without risking soldiers personally. Macedonians struck before enemies could retaliate effectively. Innovation redefined ancient battlefield engagement permanently. Flanks protected by supporting infantry units. Cavalry often exploited gaps in enemy lines. Combined forces created perfect balance of offense. Strategy emphasized coordination, timing, and trust. Phalanx was adaptable to different terrains skillfully. Hills, plains, and rivers challenged traditional formations. Training prepared troops to overcome environmental obstacles. Adaptation ensured victory across diverse battlefields consistently. Discipline reduced chaos during prolonged engagements effectively. Soldiers held ranks despite pressure and fatigue. Morale relied on confidence in comrades nearby. Trust strengthened cohesion under dangerous conditions. Phalanx formation crushed disorganized city-state armies. Greek hoplites struggled against superior reach and organization. Tactics overwhelmed opponents who relied on traditional methods. Alexander perfected deployment across strategic landscapes flawlessly. Units rotated to maintain frontline strength constantly. Veterans supported less experienced soldiers in combat. Experience blended with discipline to ensure dominance. Phalanx became symbol of Macedonian military genius. Sieges also benefited from phalanx formation presence. Infantry secured city walls, while engineers advanced. Enemy morale weakened by consistent, unyielding pressure. Phalanx ensured every offensive proceeded safely. Commanders communicated through signals across battlefield efficiently. Orders flowed seamlessly from king to soldiers. Coordination allowed rapid tactical adjustments mid-battle. Strategy combined intellect with physical strength effectively. Enemy retreat often turned into total rout. Phalanx pressure prevented organized withdrawal of forces. Macedonians pursued with relentless, disciplined precision. Victory became almost guaranteed with proper formation. Training instilled confidence, courage, and instinctive response. Every soldier understood purpose within entire structure. Unity created power unmatched in ancient warfare. Phalanx became foundation of Macedonian Empire's success. Legacy of phalanx influenced military tactics for centuries. Other civilizations attempted to imitate Macedonian strategy. Discipline, reach, and cohesion set standard universally. Macedonia dominated because soldiers trusted formation implicitly. Alexander's brilliance elevated phalanx beyond mere technique. Integration with cavalry, siegecraft, and logistics ensured supremacy. Decisive battles relied on combination of all forces. Phalanx remained heart of Macedonian battlefield strategy. Alexander combined infantry and cavalry for speed. Phalanx advanced steadily while cavalry struck swiftly. Coordination allowed surprise attacks across enemy lines. Rapid movement became hallmark of Macedonian warfare. Cavalry scouted ahead of advancing infantry constantly. They disrupted enemy formations and flanks efficiently. Phalanx followed, crushing resistance with steady pressure. Timing ensured maximum impact of coordinated assault. Light and heavy cavalry complemented each other effectively. Horsemen executed flanking maneuvers, charging at opportune moments. Infantry maintained frontline integrity and overwhelming strength. Integration became art of battle. Field dominance repeatedly. Marches covered vast distances in astonishing speed. Supply lines maintained carefully for continuous advance. Coordination ensured soldiers arrived fresh and ready. Cavalry secured routes while infantry held position. Quick assaults caught enemies unprepared and vulnerable. Macedonians exploited terrain to enhance rapid campaigns. Flexibility allowed adapting plans mid-battle fluidly. Innovation blended intelligence, speed, and brute force. Cavalry pursued retreating enemies relentlessly after battles. Infantry consolidated gains and secured key positions. Phalanx prevented enemy regrouping effectively every time. Unity of forces ensured decisive, overwhelming victories. Communication between units was precise and efficient. Signals guided cavalry and infantry in synchronized movement. Orders flowed swiftly across battlefield for coordination. Discipline made rapid campaigns possible without confusion. Combined arms ensured small forces achieved maximum effect. Macedonian army struck where enemy least expected. Cavalry exploited weaknesses discovered by infantry scouts. Strategy relied on intelligence and tactical execution. Surprise became weapon through speed and integration. Rapid assaults demoralized enemy before resistance formed. Macedonians moved like storm across open plains. Momentum became critical in campaign success repeatedly. Alexander adapted integration to varying terrains thoughtfully. Hills, rivers, and deserts posed different challenges. Cavalry and infantry coordination overcame natural obstacles. Flexibility turned obstacles into tactical advantages cleverly. Training emphasized cooperation between all military branches. Officers instructed units to support each other. Coordination became instinct through repeated drills systematically. Trust among units ensured flawless battlefield execution. Rapid campaigns extended Macedonian control across regions. Enemy forces often unable to anticipate movements. Momentum maintained pressure, forcing surrender or retreat. Integration transformed army into unstoppable war machine. Macedonian army became model of combined arms. Future generals studied Alexander's coordinated tactics closely. Cavalry and infantry synergy defined empire's expansion. Speed, strength, and discipline created legendary army. Alexander understood importance of naval dominance clearly. Supply lines ensured army remained strong continuously. Control of seas secured trade and communication. Ships became lifelines across distant conquered lands. Ports served as bases for fleet operations strategically. Naval forces protected convoys carrying food and weapons. Harbors allowed reinforcement and rapid troop deployment. Waterways became arteries of Macedonian expansion efficiently. The fleet prevented enemy interference along coasts. Trade routes remained open despite distant threats. Merchants transported goods safely under Macedonian protection. Economy and army thrived with reliable supply. Naval engineers improved ships for battle efficiency. Siegecraft extended to coastal and island fortresses. Artillery on ships attacked enemy strongholds successfully. Macedonian navy became extension of army tactics. Coordination between land and sea units perfected campaigns. Cavalry and infantry movements synchronized with naval support. Amphibious operations expanded reach into hostile territories. Flexibility allowed rapid responses to strategic opportunities. Control of Mediterranean secured grain and wealth supply. Egyptian ports became hubs for army logistics. Ships transported treasures, reinforcements, and information. Naval power complemented Macedonian army movements seamlessly. Blockades weakened enemy cities and morale effectively. Trade disruption forced rival states into submission. Strategic positioning ensured dominance over contested waters. Sea power reinforced political and military objectives consistently. Naval forces supported Alexander's siege operations efficiently. Troops landed safely near fortified coastal cities. Combined land-sea strategies overwhelmed defenders quickly. Macedonia controlled coastline and inland campaigns simultaneously. Rapid resupply allowed continuous long-distance campaigns. Soldiers received provisions without risking fatigue. Logistics guaranteed sustained offensive pressure across empire. Supply chain became backbone of operational success. Ports became cultural and administrative centers strategically. Naval bases projected Macedonian influence widely. Control over seas spread empire's economic strength. Integration of trade, army, and navy ensured supremacy. Alexander adapted naval strategy to geography carefully. Rivers, lakes, and coastal zones exploited effectively. Flexibility ensured uninterrupted movement and supply lines. Every campaign relied on maritime support crucially. Naval dominance protected Macedonian homeland from external threats. Enemy fleets avoided confrontation due to strategic superiority. Macedonian army moved freely without fear. Security enhanced confidence and morale across territories. Legacy of naval campaigns influenced future warfare. Integration of navy, army, and logistics studied worldwide. Supply lines became essential in empire building. Alexander's success owed much to maritime control. Alexander understood fear as powerful battlefield weapon. Reputation alone shattered resistance before fighting. Stories of victories spread across continents quickly. Enemies trembled knowing Macedonians never retreated. Before battles, formations displayed disciplined strength. Shining armor reflected sun with terrifying brilliance. War cries echoed across fields, intimidating opponents. Presence alone created pressure difficult to withstand. He exploited rumors to weaken enemy morale. Tales exaggerated army size and strength intentionally. Enemies believed defeat inevitable before confrontation. Psychological advantage secured early dominance effortlessly. City walls often surrendered without violent conflict. Fear of siege engines broke determination swiftly. Defenders avoided destruction by submitting immediately. Power built through perception, not just force. Cavalry charges created thunderous sound across plains. Hooves shook earth, signaling unstoppable advance. Enemy lines panicked before impact even occurred. Terror delivered victory with minimal casualties. Alexander used night marches to unsettle defenders. Unexpected presence near cities caused widespread panic. Surprise movements confused scouts and commanders. Psychological disruption weakened strategic coordination quickly. Captured enemies treated strategically, not emotionally. Mercy inspired loyalty among surrendered populations. Others feared punishment if they resisted stubbornly. Dual approach reinforced authority and reputation brilliantly. Combat demonstrations impressed visiting envoys purposefully. Foreign rulers witnessed discipline and lethal precision. Diplomacy strengthened through controlled displays of power. Fear replaced negotiation in many encounters. Speeches boosted morale among Macedonian soldiers. Confidence radiated from leader to entire army. Opponents sensed unwavering determination from distance. Leadership itself became psychological weapon constantly. Battles began only after breaking enemy resolve. Fear disrupted formations before troops engaged. Panic spread through ranks like wildfire suddenly. Victory often secured long before final blow. Macedonians displayed trophies from previous victories. Armor, banners, and weapons reminded enemies clearly. Past defeats haunted minds of opposing commanders. Psychology worked alongside traditional strategic decisions. Alexander always appeared calm under extreme pressure. His composure unsettled even strongest adversaries. Confidence demonstrated certainty of coming victory. Mind games shaped battlefield outcomes significantly. Defeated rulers spread tales of unstoppable force. Rumors magnified Alexander's legendary battlefield presence. Fear traveled faster than army ever could. Psychology expanded empires' reach effortlessly. Psychological warfare saved time, soldiers, and resources. Many victories secured without extended bloodshed. Strategy relied on dominating hearts and minds. Fear became blade sharper than Macedonian steel. Alexander moved faster than any previous ruler. Campaigns stretched from Greece to distant India. Army covered thousands of miles relentlessly. Momentum and planning made rapid conquest possible. Persia fell under Macedonian strategic brilliance. Cities surrendered as army approached decisively. Local rulers submitted without prolonged conflict. Empire expanded with unprecedented speed everywhere. Egypt welcomed Alexander as liberator and king. Nile regions integrated seamlessly into Macedonian Empire. Resources fueled further campaigns eastward immediately. Army remained supplied across vast territories efficiently. Siegecraft and battlefield victories maintained unstoppable momentum. Every engagement reinforced Macedonian dominance continually. Enemy morale collapsed under continuous pressure. Alexander advanced without pause or hesitation consistently. Crossing deserts, rivers, and mountains tested endurance. Soldiers marched tirelessly with unwavering loyalty. Cavalry outflanked while infantry crushed resistance. Speed ensured enemies could not regroup quickly. Cities along trade routes surrendered strategically. Supply lines remained secure despite distance challenges. Naval control complemented rapid land campaigns efficiently. Every logistical obstacle met with innovative solutions. India marked easternmost reach of empire. King Porus challenged Alexander's formidable army. Battle fought with tactical genius, prevailing decisively. Victory cemented Macedonian influence in eastern regions. Marches covered more territory than anyone imagined. Empire stretched thousands of miles in years. Communication maintained through messengers and established roads. Rapid expansion relied on organization and discipline. Local populations often integrated into Macedonian administration. Cities founded to consolidate gains quickly. Hellenistic culture spread alongside military conquest. Empire created lasting influence beyond mere borders. Alexander's energy and vision drove army relentlessly. Few rulers achieved similar speed historically. Momentum created fear and admiration simultaneously. Conquests reshaped political map dramatically. Army adapted to climate, terrain, and resistance. Flexibility allowed continued rapid movement eastward. Lessons learned applied to subsequent campaigns immediately. Efficiency turned ambitious plans into achievable reality. Rapid victories inspired loyalty across newly conquered lands. Soldiers shared pride in unprecedented accomplishments. Empire's expansion became example for future generals. Macedonian dominance spread faster than anyone predicted. Swift conquests secured Macedonia as global power. Strategy, discipline, and leadership combined perfectly. Alexander's vision achieved within little more than a decade. Legacy endured as model of unstoppable ambition. Alexander appointed satraps to manage vast regions. Local governors ensured law, order, and taxation. Authority delegated to trusted, capable officials carefully. Empire relied on loyalty of appointed satraps. Each satrap acted as regional Macedonian representative. They balanced imperial demands with local customs. Governors maintained army garrisons to enforce policies. Administration strengthened empire without direct interference everywhere. Selection based on skill, loyalty, and experience. Satraps handled disputes among diverse populations daily. Reporting ensured Alexander stayed informed across territories. Communication flowed efficiently between regions and capital. Military, civil, and economic responsibilities combined seamlessly. Governors managed troops, collected tribute, and maintained order. Strategic locations reinforced by satrap oversight effectively. Empire functioned through structured, hierarchical governance system. Local traditions often preserved under Macedonian authority. Satraps mediated between imperial and native demands. Cultural sensitivity reduced rebellion and unrest locally. Administration integrated loyalty with pragmatic leadership strategy. Officials enforced taxation, tribute, and resource collection. Revenue supported army, infrastructure, and royal administration. Efficient systems ensured sustainability of conquest achievements. Governance allowed empire to operate smoothly consistently. Alexander monitored satraps through inspectors and reports. Corruption addressed swiftly to maintain imperial integrity. Officials rewarded for loyalty and competence regularly. Trust and oversight balanced power throughout empire. Satraps fostered stability in newly conquered lands. They ensured Macedonian policies adapted to regions. Local leaders worked alongside appointed governors collaboratively. Integration reduced tensions and strengthened imperial control. Authority of satraps legitimized Alexander's distant rule. Visible presence of administration forced empire structure. Governors symbolized central power across diverse cultures. Unity maintained through structured regional oversight consistently. Empire expanded efficiently due to effective governance. Local knowledge enhanced decision-making for administration. Policies adjusted according to environment and population needs. Pragmatism guided every aspect of imperial management. Satrap appointments reflected Alexander's strategic intelligence wisely. Balanced power prevented rebellion while enforcing authority. Loyal governors became pillars of imperial strength. Every region tied firmly to central administration. Administrative organization ensured rapid response to threats. Officials coordinated military, civil, and economic actions. Empires of past lacked such cohesive structure. Macedonian governance became model for future rulers. Regions prospered under fair and capable administration. Satraps facilitated trade, justice, and local stability. Order maintained despite vast distances and diversity. Alexander's legacy reflected in structured imperial governance. Alexander respected Persian administrative traditions alongside Macedonian. Satrap system adapted to blend local customs. Persian officials worked with Macedonian appointees efficiently. Integration reduced friction and maintained effective governance. Taxes collected using familiar local systems carefully. Population adjusted quickly to combined administrative methods. Revenue ensured army, infrastructure, and royal treasury. Efficiency improved through blending proven techniques strategically. Local councils maintained civic responsibilities alongside satrap authority. Persian practices complemented Macedonian military oversight seamlessly. Administration functioned without alienating conquered populations unnecessarily. Unity strengthened through cooperation and cultural respect. Legal frameworks combined Macedonian and Persian traditions. Justice applied with fairness and consistency systematically. Disputes resolved using hybrid governance practices carefully. Order maintained without harsh imposition on locals. Communication channels integrated Persian record-keeping with Macedonian reports. Officials reported through structured hierarchy to central authority. Transparency ensured empire operated smoothly across distances. Efficiency minimized errors and mismanagement in territories. Alexander appointed bilingual officials to bridge cultures. Translation and interpretation facilitated smoother governance daily. Officials respected local knowledge and expertise actively. Integration fostered trust among diverse communities effectively. Infrastructure and logistics mirrored both administrative systems. Roads, postal stations, and supply lines synchronized. Persian experience enhanced Macedonian operational efficiency drastically. Empires benefited from cross-cultural administrative innovations permanently. Military and civil coordination relied on combined methods. Troop movements coordinated with local knowledge precisely. Satraps adapted policies based on regional needs. Integration allowed empire to expand without collapse. Local taxation supported cultural projects and defense systems. Blending systems ensured stability and citizen compliance. Macedonian oversight prevented exploitation or abuse consistently. Balanced administration strengthened empire across vast territories. Alexander promoted advisors from both Macedonian and Persian elites. Knowledge shared improved decision-making across administration. Collaboration fostered loyalty and minimized resistance effectively. Diverse experience enhanced imperial strategic planning permanently. Empire's durability owed much to hybrid governance. Integration became blueprint for subsequent Hellenistic kingdoms. Practical, adaptable administration ensured long-term stability. Alexander combined efficiency with cultural sensitivity wisely. Population accepted Macedonian rule more readily. Familiar practices eased transition after conquest. Persian systems respected, while empire imposed authority. Harmony maintained without constant enforcement of power. Integration of systems reflected Alexander's strategic foresight. Administration became model for managing multicultural territories. Blend of traditions ensured functional, lasting governance. Macedonian Empire thrived under hybrid management structures. Alexander encouraged Greek language across all territories. Greek became language of administration and diplomacy. Official documents, decrees, and communication standardized widely. Uniform language strengthened control and cultural unity efficiently. Education centers promoted Greek philosophy and literature consistently. Scholars traveled between cities sharing knowledge openly. Schools taught arts, sciences, and rhetoric carefully. Hellenistic culture spread through intellectual and civic life. Theaters and public spaces hosted Greek performances frequently. Drama, music, and poetry introduced Macedonian ideals. Cultural events inspired unity among diverse populations. Hellenistic art influenced local styles subtly yet permanently. Temples reflected Greek architectural designs across empire. Local gods integrated into Greek-inspired rituals carefully. Sacred spaces encouraged blending of religious traditions. Religion reinforced cultural cohesion alongside political stability. Greek colonies and cities became centers of learning. Libraries collected works from all conquered regions. Art, science, and mathematics flourished under patronage. Hellenistic influence reshaped local traditions gradually. Merchants and artisans adopted Greek styles for trade. Commerce became conduit for spreading language and culture. Economic activity supported cultural assimilation efficiently. Cultural integration strengthened loyalty to Macedonian rule. Public ceremonies followed Greek customs and symbolism carefully. Festivals celebrated victories and imperial unity simultaneously. Rituals reinforced connection to Macedonian authority consistently. Symbolism educated citizens about shared Hellenistic identity. Greek became common tongue among military and bureaucracy. Soldiers communicated orders and reports across vast distances. Bilingual officials facilitated administration and local cooperation. Language promoted integration without erasing regional traditions. Artisans, architects, and craftsmen adopted Greek techniques. Urban planning reflected Greek ideals of organization. Temples, marketplaces, and theaters became cultural hubs. Hellenistic aesthetics transformed landscapes across conquered regions. Education and civic life intertwined with Greek culture. Philosophy and rhetoric emphasized logic and leadership skills. Knowledge became shared foundation of empire-wide identity. Citizens of different origins embraced common intellectual framework. Cultural promotion ensured lasting Macedonian influence beyond conquest. Legacy of Greek language persisted for centuries. Hellenistic civilization shaped art, politics, and education. Alexander's vision created enduring cultural cohesion empire-wide. Alexander enforced law throughout his vast empire. Satraps ensured local order and justice. Disputes resolved according to codified regulations carefully. Stability maintained across diverse, newly conquered populations consistently. Military garrisons supported governance and enforcement reliably. Soldiers patrolled cities and critical trade routes. Presence discouraged rebellion and promoted compliance effectively. Discipline combined with administrative oversight ensured control. Tribute collected systematically from every province regularly. Revenue supported army, infrastructure, and royal administration. Efficient collection prevented shortages and unrest repeatedly. Taxes reinforced empire's sustainability and expansion efforts. Legal systems blended Macedonian, Greek, and local traditions. Justice applied fairly to strengthen loyalty consistently. Local disputes managed by trusted satrap officials. Order ensured citizens remained productive and compliant. Roads, messengers, and inspectors maintained communication efficiently. Reports from provinces monitored performance and compliance carefully. Problems identified early before they escalated dangerously. Administration relied on transparency and strict accountability constantly. Public works funded by collected tribute enhanced stability. Infrastructure projects built roads, bridges, and temples. Economic growth supported empire's political and military goals. Development fostered loyalty and prosperity simultaneously. Rebellion met swiftly with decisive response firmly. Order maintained without excessive cruelty or oppression. Military and civil cooperation minimized prolonged conflict effectively. Rule reinforced authority while preserving population support carefully. Tribute ensured resources available for continuous campaigns. Supplies, wages, and logistics depended on reliable collection. Economy functioned smoothly across vast distances efficiently. Financial stability reinforced political and military dominance. Officials monitored population and enforced regulations consistently. Tax collection balanced fairness with imperial requirements. Corruption suppressed through inspections and strict penalties. Accountability maintained confidence in Macedonian administration widely. Peace maintained in distant regions through structured oversight. Satraps acted as both rulers and intermediaries. Population respected authority, the enforcement was consistent. Stability allowed cultural and economic development to flourish. Alexander's laws integrated diverse communities successfully. Governance extended Macedonian influence without direct oppression. Compliance maintained through system, not fear alone. Order became foundation for empire-wide prosperity consistently. Alexander promoted exchange between diverse conquered populations. Scholars, artisans, and merchants traveled across empire. Knowledge, skills, and ideas flowed freely everywhere. Cultural interaction strengthened unity and shared identity gradually. Libraries collected texts from Greece, Egypt, Persia, India. Academies encouraged study of science, philosophy, mathematics. Learning became central to Hellenistic civilization consistently. Scholarly exchange fueled intellectual and cultural growth continuously. Artisans shared techniques and inspired local creativity. Architecture, sculpture, and painting reflected cross-cultural blending. Urban landscapes transformed through Hellenistic artistic influence. Aesthetic exchange reinforced empire's cultural cohesion strongly. Festivals celebrated traditions from multiple regions collectively. Performances, rituals, and ceremonies encouraged shared participation. Population learned from different customs and beliefs respectfully. Unity strengthened through awareness of common values. Greek language served as bridge for knowledge dissemination. Education connected students and teachers across vast territories. Hellenistic learning spread throughout every major city. Scholarship fostered sense of empire-wide identity effectively. Scientific and technological knowledge traveled with armies and officials. Military, engineering, and medicine benefited from shared expertise. Innovation accelerated across culturally connected regions efficiently. Progress enhanced both civilian life and military campaigns. Trade promoted cultural interaction along established routes. Merchants introduced foreign goods and artistic influences regularly. Economic networks supported exchange of knowledge consistently. Cities became hubs of commerce and learning simultaneously. Alexandria became pinnacle of Hellenistic scholarship intentionally. Library attracted thinkers from distant lands globally. Mathematics, astronomy, philosophy, and medicine thrived extensively. City symbolized cultural unity and intellectual achievement. Cultural exchange increased loyalty to Macedonian Empire subtly. Shared learning bridged divides between conquerors and locals. Integration fostered identity beyond ethnic or regional differences. Empire strengthened through collaboration other than mere force. Science and philosophy influenced education for generations. Schools produced leaders, thinkers, and administrators widely. Knowledge preserved through translations and cross-cultural study diligently. Legacy of Hellenistic learning endured centuries consistently. Alexander's vision created lasting intellectual networks intentionally. Empire became more than military conquest alone. Cultural exchange defined enduring Hellenistic civilization worldwide. Knowledge, art, and science united diverse populations successfully. Hellenistic art spread across all Macedonian territories. Sculptures reflected realism and human emotion profoundly. Architecture combined grandeur with functional design carefully. Cities displayed beauty and imperial cultural identity consistently. Literature flourished in Greek language widely. Poets, playwrights, and philosophers inspired citizens constantly. Libraries preserved texts for education and learning. Knowledge spread through written word across empire. Philosophy became cornerstone of Hellenistic intellectual life. Thinkers debated ethics, politics, and metaphysics passionately. Schools trained citizens in logic and reasoning. Ideas shaped civic and personal decision-making widely. Sculptors captured heroes, gods, and ordinary people. Realism emphasized emotion, movement, and natural form. Art became tool for cultural cohesion effectively. Civic pride grew through public artistic expression. Painting and mosaics decorated homes and public buildings. Scenes illustrated mythology, history, and daily life. Techniques borrowed from multiple regions blended seamlessly. Artistic fusion reflected empire-wide cultural diversity. Theatre performances conveyed stories and political messages. Drama, comedy, and music educated and entertained populace. Theatre became venue for shared Hellenistic identity. Spectacles reinforced cultural and imperial values consistently. Philosophical schools encouraged dialogue and critical thinking. Students from diverse backgrounds learned together effectively. Ideas traveled through letters, lectures, and debates. Culture spread faster than armies ever could. Monuments and public works celebrated Macedonian victories. Statues honored leaders and gods across territories. Artistic expression reinforced authority and imperial ideology. Hellenistic culture created shared symbolism among citizens. Libraries and archives collected texts from everywhere. Greek, Egyptian, and Persian knowledge preserved carefully. Learning became central to civic and cultural life. Intellectual exchange strengthened empire's unity and identity. Poetry celebrated heroism, empire, and human virtue. Epics and lyric verses inspired citizens profoundly. Writers recorded history, culture, and philosophical ideas. Literature influenced thought across multiple generations consistently. Art schools trained new generations of talented artisans. Techniques passed down preserved high-quality Hellenistic standards. Craftsmanship became symbol of imperial sophistication deliberately. Cultural pride increased through mastery of artistic skills. Hellenistic influence reached remote towns and villages. Cultural dissemination occurred alongside military and trade expansion. Even conquered peoples absorbed Greek artistic ideals gradually. Art became a bridge between diverse communities effectively. Sculptors, architects, and artisans collaborated across regions. Innovation blended creativity with tradition harmoniously. Masterpieces reflected both Macedonian and local influences. Cultural fusion strengthened identity across empire consistently. Philosophical ideas encouraged civic engagement and morality. Citizens discussed ethics, governance, and human nature. Schools became centers of intellectual and cultural life. Thought shaped personal and political conduct effectively. Alexander encouraged blending of Greek and Eastern traditions. Religious practices combined gods from multiple cultures carefully. Temples reflected architecture from Greece and Persia equally. Rituals respected local customs while promoting Hellenistic identity. Artistic styles merged across Macedonian, Persian, and Egyptian regions. Sculpture, painting, and mosaics displayed hybrid aesthetics widely. Cultural synthesis created unique Hellenistic visual language. Local artisans incorporated Greek techniques and motifs skillfully. Language blended Greek with local dialects gradually. Administration used bilingual officials across conquered territories effectively. Communication eased through shared cultural understanding systematically. Fusion strengthened loyalty and cooperation among diverse populations. Education incorporated Greek philosophy and local knowledge. Schools taught science, mathematics, and literature simultaneously. Students learned from diverse traditions and thinkers. Intellectual exchange bridged cultural and geographic divides efficiently. Festivals celebrated combined Greek and Eastern customs. Music, dance, and theatre reflected multicultural integration beautifully. Public ceremonies reinforced unity and imperial authority strongly. Shared celebrations encouraged acceptance of Macedonian rule culturally. Marriages between Greeks and local elites promoted fusion. Dynastic unions blended traditions and strengthened political bonds. Elite families adopted customs from multiple cultural origins. Integration fostered stability and mutual respect deliberately. Clothing, jewelry, and daily life reflected hybrid styles. Cultural fusion evident in fashion, cuisine, and art. Urban planning incorporated Greek and local architectural principles. Cities became showcases of blended Hellenistic traditions effectively. Philosophy and religion merged ideas from East and West. Syncretism created new perspectives on divinity and ethics. Citizens experienced hybrid culture in everyday life consistently. Intellectual growth accompanied cultural adaptation and exchange successfully. Artists traveled between regions sharing techniques widely. Craftsmanship incorporated motifs from various conquered lands. Innovation emerged from collaboration and exposure to diversity. Fusion strengthened empires' cultural identity across continents consistently. Military and civic ceremonies included multicultural symbolism regularly. Troops and citizens observed blended rituals during festivals. Symbolism emphasized shared values beyond ethnic origin. Unity reinforced through recognition of diverse heritage consistently. Trade spread hybrid goods and ideas across empire. Markets offered products blending Greek and local designs. Economic exchange reinforced cultural fusion and connectivity deliberately. Cities thrived as centers of commerce and learning. Architecture and urban planning reflected shared artistic vision. Greek colonnades integrated with Eastern decorative elements. Public spaces symbolized unity and imperial sophistication consistently. Fusion created lasting visual identity across territories permanently. Knowledge, art, religion, and customs mixed seamlessly. Hellenistic culture became bridge linking East and West. Empire's identity strengthened through acceptance of diversity carefully. Legacy of cultural fusion persisted for centuries afterward. Alexander sponsored scholars to advance knowledge empire-wide. Libraries and schools received royal financial support consistently. Thinkers traveled freely sharing ideas across cities. Intellectual growth became priority under Macedonian leadership deliberately. Architects received commissions for public buildings and temples. Urban landscapes transformed by Hellenistic aesthetic vision. Monuments reflected grandeur and cultural sophistication permanently. Architecture showcased fusion of Greek and local styles. Artists were supported to create sculptures and paintings. Masterpieces decorated public spaces, palaces, and temples. Artistic innovation encouraged experimentation with new techniques. Cultural expression reinforced empire's identity and authority. Astronomers and mathematicians studied under royal patronage carefully. Observatories and academies became centers of intellectual excellence. Scientific instruments and texts received imperial support extensively. Learning and innovation flourished through structured encouragement consistently. Poets, playwrights, and philosophers gained resources to create. Literature celebrated history, empire, and human achievement. Libraries collected works from different regions systematically. Patronage strengthened cultural cohesion and identity widely. Royal funding enabled long-term cultural projects successfully. Temples, theatres, and monuments preserved knowledge and beauty. Cities became hubs of creativity and learning simultaneously. Public works reflected both practical function and artistry. Artists collaborated across regions, sharing techniques regularly. Traveling workshops ensured consistent artistic standards empire-wide. Knowledge transfer encouraged cultural innovation and experimentation. Creative exchange became backbone of Hellenistic civilization deliberately. Royal endorsement increased status of scholars and creators. Intellectuals gained influence in civic and cultural life. Empires celebrated intellectual achievement as key component. Recognition motivated continued contributions across generations consistently. Macedonian army also facilitated artistic and scholarly movement. Military campaigns transported architects, engineers, and artisans safely. Knowledge spread alongside conquest and infrastructure development efficiently. Patronage leveraged mobility to strengthen empire's culture simultaneously. Artistic commissions often carried political symbolism strategically. Statues and reliefs celebrated victories and rulers prominently. Visual propaganda reinforced loyalty and shared identity effectively. Culture and authority became intertwined throughout empire consistently. Scholarship encouraged translation of texts into Greek language. Works from Egypt, Persia, and India preserved systematically. Intellectual exchange created foundation for a Hellenistic learning. Patronage ensured knowledge survived and disseminated widely. Cultural projects united citizens through shared pride and purpose. Public buildings became symbols of imperial vision clearly. Scholarship, art, and architecture reinforced Alexander's legacy deliberately. Patronage ensured enduring impact across centuries consistently. Education, architecture, and arts reflected Macedonian strategic foresight. Empire prospered through cultural investment alongside military conquest. Scholars, artists, and architects shaped lasting civilization. Legacy endured as testament to Alexander's vision permanently. Alexander valued education for all his leaders. Schools and academies trained future generals and administrators. Greek philosophy and science became core curriculum. Learning emphasized logic, strategy, and critical thinking consistently. Astronomers studied stars, planets, and celestial phenomena. Observatories were built in major Hellenistic cities. Knowledge of heavens guided calendars and navigation precisely. Science became integrated with empire's practical and intellectual needs. Mathematics advanced under royal patronage across territories. Engineers applied knowledge to architecture and infrastructure efficiently. Measurement, geometry, and mechanics improved military campaigns significantly. Education bridged theory with practical applications consistently. Medicine benefited from study of anatomy and remedies. Doctors trained in Hellenistic schools shared techniques widely. Hospitals and clinics became centers of learning consistently. Science improved life quality across empire substantially. Libraries collected texts on science, mathematics, and philosophy. Students studied original works from different civilizations carefully. Translation preserved knowledge from Egypt, Persia, and India. Intellectual exchange became cornerstone of Hellenistic culture. Education spread through urban centers and colonies systematically. Citizens had access to lectures, libraries, and debates. Learning became social as well as individual endeavor. Knowledge linked people across geographic and cultural boundaries. Royal courts invited scholars to advise on policy. Mathematics, astronomy, and engineering informed political and military decisions. Intellectual expertise strengthened governance and imperial strategy effectively. Science and statecraft became interconnected permanently. Practical science applied to architecture, roads, and irrigation. Engineering projects improved city life and army logistics. Astronomical observations guided navigation and agricultural planning. Knowledge served both intellectual curiosity and practical empire needs. Philosophy inspired moral and civic education systematically. Debates emphasized ethics, leadership, and societal responsibility regularly. Citizens learned critical reasoning alongside scientific knowledge continuously. Education shaped both mind and character effectively. Greek became medium for academic communication empire-wide. Scholars collaborated regardless of native language or origin. Standardized education created intellectual cohesion across territories. Hellenistic learning unified diverse populations culturally and intellectually. Students from distant regions traveled to centers eagerly. Knowledge transferred between East and West efficiently. Academies became melting pots of ideas and methods. Exchange accelerated innovation and cultural integration consistently. Scientific instruments were advanced for observation and measurement. Tools allowed precise calculation of distances and positions. Engineering projects applied astronomy for urban and military planning. Technology and science supported empire building efficiently. Legacy influenced future civilizations in Europe and Asia. Greek and Hellenistic learning persisted for centuries consistently. Astronomy, mathematics, and philosophy inspired Renaissance scholars later. Alexander's vision created lasting intellectual foundation permanently. Alexander used festivals to unify diverse populations. Public celebrations reinforced loyalty to Macedonian rule consistently. Ceremonies combined Greek and local cultural elements. Rituals highlighted shared values and imperial authority clearly. Royal processions displayed Alexander's power and presence. Citizens witnessed grandeur and discipline firsthand regularly. Parades reinforced cohesion between army and civilians. Spectacle impressed loyalty and respect throughout empire. Religious ceremonies integrated gods from multiple regions. Sacrifices and offerings honored both local and Greek deities. Faith blended with imperial ideology carefully and purposefully. Spiritual unity supported political stability effectively. Victory celebrations commemorated military achievements empire-wide. Soldiers and civilians joined in feasts and games. Public acknowledgement of heroes strengthened morale significantly. Festivals became tools for propaganda and loyalty simultaneously. Athletic contests reflected Greek traditions across cities. Competitions encouraged civic pride and cultural exchange actively. Victors honored with statues, poems, and public praise. Games promoted unity and shared identity consistently. Music, dance, and theatre accompanied major ceremonies. Performances educated citizens about history and values. Artistic expression reinforced Hellenistic culture throughout empire. Cultural spectacles entertained while instilling respect for leadership. Anniversaries of Alexander's victories celebrated empire's expansion. Cities held synchronized festivals and public events collectively. Symbolism emphasized Macedonian authority and cultural integration. Shared observances bridged regional and ethnic differences effectively. Temple dedications combined local customs with Greek rituals. Sacred spaces became hubs for civic and cultural life. Religion reinforced both faith and imperial cohesion permanently. Ceremonies strengthened identity and loyalty among citizens carefully. Elite and common citizens participated in festivities together. Interaction fostered sense of belonging across social classes. Unity promoted through shared cultural and religious experiences. Empire strengthened socially as well as politically consistently. Royal decrees often announced during festivals publicly. Events became occasions to communicate laws and achievements. Cultural celebrations reinforced authority while educating citizens effectively. Public gatherings aligned population with imperial vision clearly. Processions included both military and civilian participants strategically. Symbolism reminded all of Macedonian military and cultural strength. Rituals strengthened connection between ruler and people. Cultural spectacle became instrument of governance consistently. Music and poetry highlighted achievements and moral lessons. Artists contributed to ceremonies with elaborate performances regularly. Culture and governance intertwined in public celebrations. Shared experiences created collective memory and loyalty widely. Festivals coincided with seasonal and religious calendars. Integration respected local traditions while promoting Hellenistic identity. Timing reinforced relevance and participation across populations efficiently. Public engagement deepened bonds between ruler and subjects. Ceremonies showcased fusion of Greek and Eastern cultures. Symbols and rituals reinforced multicultural empires' identity visibly. Spectacle promoted pride in Hellenistic civilization effectively. Unity strengthened through recognition of diverse contributions carefully. Commemorative events inspired loyalty across generations intentionally. Children learned customs, values, and history through participation. Cultural continuity maintained cohesion and identity permanently. Festivals ensured empire remained unified socially and politically. Celebrations also honored gods, heroes, and Alexander himself. Divine approval reinforced legitimacy of Macedonian rule consistently. Public devotion merged spiritual and civic identity seamlessly. Rituals created lasting connection between people and empire. Alexander secured trade routes spanning Asia, Europe, Africa. Control ensured movement of goods and resources consistently. Merchants traveled safely under Macedonian oversight diligently. Empire benefited from unrestricted commerce across vast territories. Roads and bridges connected distant cities efficiently. Supply lines supported both army and civilian trade. Caravans transported spices, textiles, and luxury goods. Trade strengthened economic and political stability simultaneously. Ports and harbors expanded maritime commerce significantly. Naval dominance protected merchant ships from piracy constantly. Ships carried grain, metals, and other essential supplies. Sea routes linked Mediterranean, Red Sea, and Persian Gulf. Strategic cities became hubs for regional and international trade. Markets thrived under security and administrative efficiency. Local economies integrated into empire-wide commercial networks systematically. Economic activity reinforced Macedonian authority and influence gradually. Tribute and tariffs supplemented imperial revenues consistently. Wealth collected funded infrastructure, army, and administration efficiently. Monetary stability encouraged merchant investment and confidence widely. Empire prospered from taxation and trade integration simultaneously. Macedonian officials regulated commerce to prevent fraud and disruption. Merchants adhered to laws for safe and fair trade. Standardized weights, measures, and currency facilitated transactions effectively. Economic oversight ensured empire-wide consistency and efficiency continuously. Caravanserais and trading posts supported long-distance journeys. Travelers found shelter, supplies, and security throughout empire. Logistics allowed rapid movement of people and goods. Infrastructure encouraged commerce and cultural interaction consistently. Silk, spices, and precious metals flowed across regions. Eastern and Western products enriched cities and elites. Trade promoted cultural exchange along with economic activity. Economic prosperity reinforced political and military dominance effectively. Markets provided venues for artisans and local craftsmen. Goods ranged from everyday items to luxury products. Commerce strengthened city economies and imperial cohesion. Economic networks supported both culture and strategic interests. Alexander's conquests opened new routes for international trade. Persian, Indian, and Egyptian connections expanded Macedonian influence. Merchants gained access to far-reaching markets consistently. Empire leveraged commerce for wealth and stability simultaneously. Trade enabled technological and cultural exchange across empire. Goods transported knowledge, techniques, and artistic styles widely. Exchange contributed to Hellenistic culture and innovation continuously. Commerce became tool for both profit and influence. Supply chains ensured army remained well provisioned during campaigns. Resources moved quickly along secured and maintained roads. Logistics integrated with trade networks efficiently and reliably. Economic infrastructure strengthened empire's military capabilities substantially. Alexander encouraged standardization of currency and coinage widely. Coins facilitated trade and symbolized imperial authority clearly. Monetary uniformity promoted trust across diverse regions consistently. Economic stability reinforced political and administrative control simultaneously. Borders controlled trade routes with garrisons and checkpoints. Security ensured goods reached intended markets safely. Merchants felt confidence in empire's protective measures. Military and economic strategy worked together seamlessly. Control of trade brought prosperity to urban centers. Cities became vibrant hubs of economic and cultural life. Markets encouraged interaction among diverse ethnic groups regularly. Trade strengthened cohesion and shared identity across empire. Alexander relied on agriculture to feed his empire. Surplus crops sustained cities and large armies effectively. Farmers produced grain, olives, and wine consistently. Food security became foundation of imperial strength permanently. Irrigation and farming techniques improved production steadily. Canals, dams, and wells expanded arable land efficiently. Agricultural innovation ensured reliable harvests across territories. Population growth depended on abundant food resources consistently. Stored grain supported soldiers during long campaigns abroad. Supply depots positioned along roads enabled continuous provisions. Food transported from fertile regions to army camps safely. Logistics maintained morale and efficiency during extended operations. Farms contributed revenue through taxes and tribute systematically. Agricultural surplus funded construction, administration, and cultural projects. Economy relied on organized cultivation and distribution reliably. Surplus created stability for both rural and urban communities. Local farmers integrated into imperial taxation systems carefully. Landowners managed estates while meeting production quotas efficiently. Satraps oversaw agricultural output to ensure consistency. Governance depended on productive farming to sustain empire. Grain shipments fed civilians in newly founded cities. Urban populations grew with steady food supply reliably. Markets flourished because abundance ensured affordability consistently. Trade in agricultural goods strengthened local and regional economies. Olive oil and wine became major export products. Luxury food items supported trade and diplomatic gifts. Surplus allowed exchange for metals, textiles, and spices. Agriculture fueled both economy and cultural exchange simultaneously. Storage facilities preserved harvests against spoilage and shortage. Granaries built near urban centers and strategic locations. Food reserves secured against famine and unexpected disruptions. Surplus management demonstrated administrative and logistical sophistication. Farm labor contributed to both local and imperial projects. Citizens participated in planting, harvesting, and storage systematically. Agriculture became backbone of Macedonian civilization's prosperity. Army and cities thrived from productive farmland consistently. Annual harvest festivals celebrated abundance and agricultural achievements. Rituals reinforced gratitude to gods and loyalty. Festivals connected rural producers with urban consumers socially. Agricultural surplus became source of civic pride continually. Satraps reported crop yields to central administration regularly. Monitoring ensured equitable distribution to army and cities. Reliable harvest strengthened trust between subjects and empire. Food security reinforced political and social stability effectively. Alexander encouraged farming innovation and land management practices. Techniques spread across regions through knowledge exchange consistently. Agriculture evolved to meet demands of growing empire efficiently. Innovation ensured long-term sustainability and imperial resilience permanently. Famine and shortages minimized through strategic storage and trade. Regions assisted each other to balance food distribution carefully. Cooperation maintained population health and army readiness simultaneously. Food management reflected sophisticated economic planning consistently. Agricultural surplus became foundation of Macedonian wealth. Cities expanded, trade thrived, and army remained strong. Fertile lands ensured empire's growth and stability continuously. Alexander's vision linked food security with imperial power permanently. Macedonia controlled rich mines across the empire. Gold, silver, and bronze fueled wealth consistently. Mining supported currency production and military expenses reliably. Resources strengthened economy and financed Alexander's campaigns permanently. Metals extracted using skilled labor and technology. Miners worked in mountains, rivers, and open pits. Safety measures limited accidents in dangerous mining operations. Production ensured consistent supply of valuable resources strategically. Silver and gold minted into standardized imperial coins. Coinage facilitated trade across distant regions efficiently. Currency symbolized authority and unified empire economically. Monetary systems strengthened political and commercial networks reliably. Metal resources funded construction of cities and infrastructure. Palaces, temples, and roads relied on mining output. Luxury goods produced from metals increased elite wealth. Economy benefited from industrial and commercial activity consistently. Mining regions closely monitored by satraps and officials. Production quotas ensured sufficient supply for imperial needs. Officials prevented smuggling and theft of precious materials. Resource management reflected sophisticated governance and planning consistently. Trade relied on precious metals as standardized medium. Merchants exchanged coins for goods across continents effectively. Economic stability depended on availability of reliable currency. Mining directly linked to commerce and imperial prosperity permanently. Techniques combined local knowledge with Macedonian innovations effectively. Smelting, alloying, and refining improved efficiency and quality. Resources processed for coinage, jewelry, and military use. Technology spread across empire through skilled laborers consistently. Gold financed diplomatic gifts and royal patronage generously. Artisans created decorative and ceremonial objects from metals. Cultural and political influence reinforced through material wealth. Mining fueled both practical needs and cultural expression consistently. Metallurgy knowledge advanced scientific and technical expertise significantly. Engineers improved extraction, smelting, and transportation methods. Technical innovation supported both economic and military ambitions. Empire benefited from skilled workforce and advanced technology continuously. Mining settlements developed near resource-rich areas strategically. Cities and towns grew around metal extraction sites. Labor, trade, and administration centered on mining economy. Mining regions contributed significantly to imperial wealth permanently. Precious metals allowed Alexander to reward generals and allies. Coins and gifts reinforced loyalty and political ties. Wealth distribution maintained stability among elite and military. Resource control strengthened empire's cohesion and authority effectively. Strategic metal reserves supported army campaigns in distant lands. Supplies enabled construction of siege engines and weaponry. Mining linked directly to Macedonian military superiority consistently. Economic and military strength depended on metallurgical resources permanently. Metallurgy became a symbol of Macedonian technological power. Knowledge preserved and disseminated through Hellenistic cities effectively. Mining expertise influenced later civilizations across Europe and Asia. Empire's industrial capability ensured long-lasting influence and prosperity. Alexander founded cities with central marketplaces strategically. Markets became hubs for commerce and social life. Citizens, merchants, and travelers gathered to trade goods. Trade flourished under security and administrative oversight consistently. Goods from distant lands arrived in bustling markets. Spices, textiles, metals, and luxury items circulated regularly. Local products complemented imported goods effectively and profitably. Market activity strengthened economy and urban prosperity permanently. Marketplaces promoted interaction between different ethnic communities. Cultural exchange occurred alongside commercial transactions frequently. Citizens learned about foreign customs through daily commerce. Unity reinforced through shared economic and cultural spaces. Markets operated under standardized weights, measures, and currency. Transactions conducted efficiently and fairly across all regions. Regulation ensured merchants adhered to imperial rules consistently. Economic stability maintained through organized trade management effectively. Marketplaces encouraged growth of crafts and artisan industries. Workshops sold pottery, textiles, metalwork, and art. Production linked directly to consumer demand reliably. Cities thrived as economic and cultural centers permanently. Market days became social gatherings and festive occasions. Music, food, and entertainment accompanied commercial activity regularly. Festivals promoted civic pride and communal cohesion effectively. Public spaces combined commerce with cultural expression consistently. Caravan networks linked marketplaces across the empire efficiently. Goods traveled safely due to Macedonian control strategically. Trade routes connected urban centers with distant regions. Markets became nodes of empire-wide commercial and cultural exchange. Merchants benefited from market access and security guarantees. Markets encouraged innovation in goods and business practices. Competition drove quality improvement and economic growth consistently. Urban centers prospered through vibrant market activity permanently. Alexander supported infrastructure to enhance marketplace functionality. Roads, bridges, and ports improved access for traders. Storage facilities and warehouses ensured efficient goods distribution. Infrastructure reinforced economic connectivity across all cities reliably. Local economies integrated into imperial trade networks efficiently. Marketplaces encouraged taxation and collection of tributes regularly. Revenue funded army, administration, and public works effectively. Economic organization strengthened political and military stability permanently. Cultural exchange flourished in bustling urban marketplaces widely. Ideas, fashions, and knowledge spread alongside traded goods. Markets became conduits for Hellenistic learning and innovation. Commerce supported both wealth and cultural cohesion consistently. Urban planning placed marketplaces at city centers deliberately. Accessibility ensured maximum participation by citizens and merchants. Public spaces reflected Greek and local architectural styles. Market design enhanced both function and aesthetic appeal permanently. Trade regulations ensured fair pricing and dispute resolution. Merchants and customers conducted transactions with trust reliably. Imperial oversight promoted stability in economic activity consistently. Orderly markets supported sustained urban and rural prosperity. Alexander's vision transformed cities into vibrant economic centers. Marketplaces became symbols of prosperity, culture, and control. Commerce, culture, and governance intertwined through centralized hubs. Urban markets reflected empire-wide integration and influence permanently. Trade enabled exchange of ideas across the empire. Merchants transported not only goods, but knowledge consistently. Technology spread along trade routes efficiently and rapidly. Cities became centers of innovation and learning permanently. Artisans shared techniques in weaving, pottery, and metalwork. Cultural exchange enriched local traditions and practices widely. Crafts reflected fusion of Macedonian and Eastern influences. Commerce became conduit for artistic and technical knowledge. Markets facilitated dialogue between merchants from distant regions. Ideas about governance, architecture, and agriculture circulated freely. Technological solutions traveled alongside economic goods reliably. Urban centers became nodes for practical knowledge dissemination. Merchants introduced new tools and construction methods locally. Irrigation, mining, and metallurgical techniques improved regional productivity. Technology transfer strengthened economic and cultural development consistently. Innovation accelerated through interaction of diverse skilled communities. Trade encouraged adoption of Greek language for communication. Written records, contracts, and letters spread literacy widely. Standardization of language supported technological collaboration efficiently. Commerce linked distant populations through shared knowledge consistently. Luxury goods inspired local artisans and creative experimentation. Foreign motifs and materials blended with local craftsmanship. Art and technology advanced through exposure to new ideas. Cultural fusion strengthened empire-wide identity and innovation permanently. Markets became venues for scientific instruments and tools exchange. Astronomical, medical, and engineering knowledge traveled with goods. Scholars benefited from practical applications of imported techniques. Trade networks enhanced both economy and intellectual growth consistently. Economic hubs encouraged cross-cultural apprenticeship and mentorship programs. Students learned skills from foreign masters in urban centers. Knowledge transfer occurred naturally alongside commercial activity. Skills spread across regions, improving productivity and innovation. Maritime trade connected Mediterranean, Red Sea, and Indian ports. Ships carried both commodities and ideas across oceans. Navigation techniques and shipbuilding knowledge circulated globally. Commerce enhanced technological capability and cultural understanding significantly. Royal patronage supported merchants, facilitating intellectual exchange strategically. State-backed trade missions transported artisans and specialists safely. Knowledge moved under protective imperial oversight efficiently. Commerce became integral to cultural and technological diffusion. Royal patronage supported merchants, facilitating intellectual exchange strategically. State-backed trade missions transported artisans and specialists safely. Knowledge moved under protective imperial oversight efficiently. Commerce became integral to cultural and technological diffusion. Cross-cultural exchange influenced medicine, architecture, and engineering directly. New techniques improved public works, urban planning, and healthcare. Trade enabled application of foreign knowledge locally. Cultural and technological progress reinforced imperial strength consistently. Alexander's vision linked commerce with learning deliberately. Economic activity became pathway for cultural and technical growth. Cities flourished as hubs of knowledge and trade. Commerce ensured enduring exchange of ideas empire-wide permanently. Merchants, scholars, and artisans formed informal networks naturally. Exchange of skills and ideas accelerated innovation consistently. Knowledge traveled faster than armies ever could efficiently. Empire benefited socially, economically, and technologically simultaneously. Trade strengthened Macedonian control and fostered cultural cohesion. Shared technological knowledge reinforced interdependence among regions effectively. Economic and intellectual networks created durable imperial integration. Alexander's commercial strategy ensured lasting Hellenistic legacy perma. Alexander's sudden death shocked the entire empire. No clear heir created political uncertainty immediately. Generals and satraps faced power struggles suddenly. Empire stability depended on his strong leadership permanently. Soldiers mourned their young and brilliant king deeply. Cities held public ceremonies honoring Alexander's achievements widely. Loyalty to Macedonian ruler remained strong but uncertain. Death left vacuum in governance and military command. Rumors spread about cause of Alexander's sudden death. Fever, illness, or poison debated among historians repeatedly. Speculation fueled fear among generals and citizens alike. Uncertainty spread across Macedonian and conquered territories quickly. Without Alexander, empire lacked unifying central authority completely. Provinces risked rebellion without strong imperial oversight. Satraps acted independently to protect their territories carefully. Fragmentation began immediately after the king's demise. Consistently, generals convened to decide succession and administration. Power struggles erupted among trusted companions of Alexander. Rivalries threatened cohesion and imperial unity rapidly. Empire's vast size made centralized control extremely difficult. Cities mourned, but also prepared for instability cautiously. Local leaders strengthened defenses and asserted authority locally. Population feared disruption of trade and security immediately. Economic and social systems faced pressure from uncertainty. Alexander's vision of a unified world remained incomplete. Conquest spanned continents, but administration depended on one man. Sudden death revealed fragility of centralized imperial system. Empire relied on personal charisma and military genius exclusively. Loyal Macedonian generals divided loyalties across regions strategically. Some pledged allegiance to Alexander's family or regents. Others sought personal power and territorial control aggressively. Conflict became inevitable without strong central leadership consistently. Historians mark his death as turning point permanently. From triumph to uncertainty, empire entered new era. Ambitious Diadochi prepared to claim portions immediately. Macedonian hegemony depended on successors' skill and ambition. Funerary processions spread his body across cities respectfully. Symbolic rituals reinforced loyalty, but could not stabilize empire. Public mourning could not replace leadership and strategic guidance. Death marked beginning of political fragmentation deliberately. Provincial governors tested boundaries of authority cautiously. Local populations sometimes resisted new leadership openly. Imperial cohesion weakened as distance from central power increased. Control depended on generals' ability to enforce obedience. Successors faced immediate challenges from foreign and domestic threats. Egypt, Persia, and Asia Minor became contested territories quickly. Empire's vastness made communication and control extremely difficult. Fragmentation was accelerated by logistical and political constraints. Alexander's untimely death left ambitious generals with opportunity. Rivalries would shape Hellenistic world for decades consistently. Personal ambitions often trumped loyalty to his memory. Empire transformed from unified to divided rapidly and permanently. Alexander's generals, known as the Diadochi, vied fiercely. Each sought control over different empire regions independently. Ambition drove them to conflict and power struggles. Unity dissolved as generals pursued personal authority aggressively. Perdiccas initially acted as regent after Alexander's death. Rival generals challenged his decisions and authority quickly. Factions formed among powerful commanders across the empire. Alliances shifted frequently, trust rarely lasting long consistently. Antigonus controlled Asia Minor, strengthening military presence immediately. Ptolemy secured Egypt, building independent power base efficiently. Seleucus claimed territories in Persia and Mesopotamia decisively. Lysimachus governed Thrace, preparing for expansion strategically. Wars broke out between Diadochi over territorial claims. Battles spread across Greece, Asia, and Near East. Armies fought fiercely for dominance and resources regularly. Conflict reshaped the political map of Macedonian Empire. Diplomacy and marriage alliances attempted to stabilize fragile relations. Generals married into influential families to secure loyalty. Temporary truces allowed brief periods of uneasy peace. Strategic negotiations accompanied military campaigns consistently across regions. Cities and provinces suffered from changing control frequently. Populations endured taxation, conscription, and shifting administration repeatedly. Local elites navigated uncertain loyalties carefully. Stability depended on generals' ability to enforce authority. Antigonus aimed to reunite empire under personal rule. Others resisted, forming coalitions against ambitious ambitions strategically. Continuous warfare prevented centralized control from ever solidifying. Fragmentation accelerated through relentless competition among diadochi. Ptolemy established dynasty in Egypt that lasted centuries. Seleucus formed Seleucid Empire across Asia. Lysimachus ruled Thrace and parts of Asia Minor. Cassander controlled Macedonia and Greece, maintaining influence locally. Rivalries often ended with assassination or betrayal ruthlessly. Generals eliminated competitors to secure territorial claims permanently. Fear and mistrust dictated political and military decisions. Stability remained elusive due to constant internal power struggles. Mercenaries and loyal troops became pivotal in campaigns. Military strength determined control of valuable regions effectively. Generals invested heavily in army loyalty and skill. Power depended on both strategy and force consistently. Trade and taxation became tools for funding wars. Economic resources determined generals' capacity to maintain armies. Cities contributed wealth, men, and supplies for campaigns. Empire's infrastructure used strategically to project power continuously. Diadochi wars reshaped map of Hellenistic world permanently. New kingdoms emerged, replacing Alexander's unified empire entirely. Regional dynasties claimed legitimacy through conquest and marriage. Political fragmentation became defining feature of post-Alexander period. Conflict among generals created lasting rivalry patterns historically. Borders established through warfare and negotiation endured centuries. Military and political influence became regional rather than imperial. Empire's vast ambition gave way to divided territories. Legacy of Diadochi struggles influenced Mediterranean and Near East. Successors' campaigns set stage for cultural and political Hellenization. Wars forged new kingdoms with Macedonian traditions embedded. Hellenistic age emerged directly from Diadochi power struggles. After Alexander's death, empire fractured into multiple kingdoms. Diadochi divided territories to consolidate personal power strategically. Regions became semi-independent under strong military governors. Unity dissolved, giving way to Hellenistic states permanently. Ptolemaic dynasty ruled Egypt with strong administration. Alexandria became center of trade, culture, and learning. Egypt prospered under stable governance and royal patronage. Ptolemaic kingdom maintained Greek traditions alongside Egyptian customs. Seleucid Empire dominated Persia, Mesopotamia, and Asia Minor. Vast territories required decentralized governance and loyal satraps. Cultural fusion occurred as Greek and local influences merged. Hellenistic traditions spread across Persian and Mesopotamian lands. Antigonid dynasty controlled Macedonia and Greece effectively. Cities preserved Greek identity and political institutions locally. Military campaigns secured borders and suppressed rebellions regularly. Antigonid rule emphasized continuity of Macedonian authority historically. Lysimachus ruled Thrace and Western Asia Minor securely. Expansion and fortification strengthened territorial control consistently. Urban centers flourished under Macedonian architectural influence deliberately. Hellenistic culture influenced administration, military, and society widely. Each kingdom pursued independent foreign policies and alliances. Diplomacy and warfare shaped borders and regional power constantly. Conflicts among Hellenistic states occurred frequently and strategically. Shifting alliances reflected personal ambitions of ruling dynasties continuously. Royal courts became cultural and political hubs. Scholars, artists, and merchants traveled between cities freely. Centers like Alexandria and Antioch flourished intellectually permanently. Hellenistic kingdoms fostered innovation, learning, and commerce extensively. Coinage and economy reflected each kingdom's distinct identity. Monetary policy promoted trade while asserting political legitimacy clearly. Economic networks linked urban centers within kingdoms efficiently. Wealth and resource management reinforced regional power and influence. Military forces maintained security and expanded territorial control. Armies defended borders, enforced taxes, and quelled revolts. Hellenistic rulers relied on professional soldiers and mercenaries effectively. Military strength determined survival and success in competitive environment. Dynastic marriages strengthened alliances between Hellenistic kingdoms strategically. Royal families sought legitimacy and influence through intermarriage regularly. Marriage cemented loyalty among nobles and allied states. Family ties shaped politics and diplomacy across regions consistently. Governance blended Macedonian, Greek, and local administrative practices. Satraps, governors, and councils managed cities and provinces. Integration of systems ensured stability and cultural cohesion gradually. Administration reflected pragmatic adaptation to diverse populations permanently. Culture and education thrived within each kingdom's cities. Schools, libraries, and temples promoted Hellenistic learning widely. Intellectual exchange flourished despite political fragmentation consistently. Cultural identity reinforced through patronage and civic life effectively. Division allowed kingdoms to experiment with independent policies. Each region adapted strategies based on geography and resources. Innovation emerged from political autonomy and competitive environment consistently. Fragmentation encouraged localized development alongside Hellenistic cultural ident. Despite division, shared Greek language and traditions persisted. Citizens identified with broader Hellenistic civilization culturally. Trade and communication maintained connections among kingdoms efficiently. Fragmented empire remained united by cultural and intellectual bonds. Hellenistic kingdoms shaped political landscape of Mediterranean permanently. Rome and other rising powers later absorbed these territories gradually. Legacy of Alexander endured through successor states and culture. Empire's division defined political, cultural, and historical trajectory consistent. Hellenistic kingdoms weakened over time through internal struggles. Generals' descendants lacked Alexander's charisma and leadership consistently. Political instability invited foreign powers to intervene repeatedly. Macedonian influence diminished as local dynasties faced pressure. Rome emerged as dominant Mediterranean power gradually. Military strength and strategic diplomacy expanded Roman territory systematically. Hellenistic kingdoms resisted, but could not match Rome. Regional autonomy eroded under Roman military and political dominance. Egypt under Ptolemies retained independence temporarily. Rome exerted influence through treaties and alliances carefully. Economic and military dependence increased over time steadily. Eventually, Egypt became Roman province in 30 BCE permanently. Seleucid Empire faced internal revolts and external attacks regularly. Roman intervention accelerated decline and territorial loss strategically. Eastern regions absorbed into Roman sphere gradually. Empire fragmented further under pressure from Parthians and Romans. Antigonid dynasty in Macedonia resisted Rome briefly. Defeated in the Macedonian Wars, territory became Roman province. Military campaigns dismantled independent rule systematically. Rome established direct control, ending Antigonid dominance permanently. Lysimachus territories were absorbed earlier by rivals and Rome. Thrace in Western Asia Minor became part of Roman provinces. Hellenistic political structures replaced by Roman administration efficiently. Local elites adapted to new imperial hierarchy consistently. Rome leveraged divisions among Diadochi successors effectively. Fragmented kingdoms could not unite against powerful Roman legions. Strategic conquest completed with minimal prolonged resistance successfully. Political fragmentation accelerated absorption into emerging empires permanently. Economic and cultural influence of Rome reshaped Mediterranean trade. Ports, cities, and roads integrated Hellenistic regions into Roman network. Commerce facilitated Roman dominance and consolidation efficiently. Economic systems adapted to Roman administration consistently. Cultural influence persisted despite political absorption gradually. Hellenistic art, architecture, and learning continued under Roman patronage. Greek language and philosophy thrived alongside Roman governance. Rome preserved intellectual and cultural legacy deliberately. Military technology and strategies of Hellenistic kingdoms influenced Rome. Siege engines, phalanx tactics, and logistics were studied carefully. Rome adopted and improved upon Macedonian and Greek methods. Hellenistic warfare contributed to Roman military supremacy consistently. Successive wars and treaties eliminated independent Hellenistic rule. Rome absorbed territories through diplomacy, conquest, and marriage strategically. Emerging empire unified previously fragmented regions efficiently. Political integration established Roman authority permanently. Local rulers sometimes retained ceremonial power under Roman oversight. Governance centralized, while local elites facilitated administration effectively. Hellenistic traditions coexisted with Roman laws and institutions. Cultural integration softened political absorption and resistance gradually. Roman legions occupied strategic cities and trade routes efficiently. Military presence ensured compliance and maintained regional stability. Security facilitated economic continuity and population control consistently. Rome leveraged infrastructure built by Hellenistic rulers permanently. Absorption by Rome marked end of Macedonian political dominance. Legacy endured through culture, science, and military influence. Hellenistic civilization merged into broader Roman framework gradually. Alexander's empire transformed into foundation for Mediterranean history permanently. Hellenistic culture influenced art, philosophy, and science widely. Greek language became common across Mediterranean and Near East. Education, libraries, and academies spread knowledge systematically. Cities like Alexandria became intellectual and cultural hubs permanently. Architecture blended Greek and local styles creatively. Temples, theaters, and palaces reflected fusion of traditions. Urban planning integrated practical and aesthetic principles efficiently. Hellenistic cities inspired later Roman and Byzantine designs consistently. Science and astronomy advanced under Hellenistic scholars' guidance. Mathematics, medicine, and engineering knowledge expanded significantly. Observatories and research centers promoted intellectual growth continuously. Cultural legacy influenced later Mediterranean civilizations permanently. Literature and theater flourished under royal patronage widely. Greek plays, poetry, and historical texts were preserved. Storytelling and drama became integral to civic life consistently. Hellenistic literary culture shaped artistic traditions for centuries. Philosophy spread from Athens to eastern regions effectively. Stoicism, Epicureanism, and other schools influenced thinking broadly. Intellectual exchange linked diverse populations across territories consistently. Hellenistic thought inspired ethics, politics, and personal conduct permanently. Trade and commerce facilitated cultural diffusion across regions. Merchants carried ideas, art, and technology along routes. Economic networks reinforced intellectual and cultural interactions consistently. Commerce became vehicle for Hellenistic influence permanently. Religious syncretism emerged, blending Greek and local beliefs. Gods, rituals, and festivals reflected multicultural integration successfully. Spiritual traditions influenced civic life and personal identity consistently. Cultural cohesion strengthened through shared religious and social practices. Military organization inspired later armies in Mediterranean and Near East. Tactics, phalanx formations, and siege techniques were studied. Hellenistic strategies influenced Roman and regional military doctrines permanently. Legacy of conquest shaped subsequent warfare and statecraft consistently. Art and sculpture achieved realism and emotional expression remarkably. Portraits, mosaics, and statues reflected human experience vividly. Techniques spread across regions, influencing local artistic styles. Hellenistic aesthetics shaped visual culture for generations permanently. Education systems influenced civic and military leadership training. Schools and academies prepared citizens for governance and service. Curriculum included philosophy, science, and civic duties consistently. Learning promoted both intellectual and practical competence permanently. Greek language and writing standardized communication across territories. Administration, literature, and scholarship used common linguistic framework. Language facilitated political cohesion and cultural identity effectively. Hellenistic Greek persisted as lingua franca for centuries. Urbanization promoted cultural interaction between diverse populations. Cities became centers of learning, trade, and governance. Population mobility spread Hellenistic ideas and practices widely. Urban life reflected empire-wide cultural integration permanently. Legal systems and governance inspired regional administrative practices. Satraps and local officials adopted Macedonian and Greek models. Hellenistic influence persisted in law, bureaucracy, and civic management. Administrative legacy shaped governance in successor empires consistently. Science and mathematics influenced later Roman, Islamic, and European scholars. Observations, experiments, and techniques were preserved and expanded. Knowledge transfer shaped global intellectual history gradually. Hellenistic foundations enabled future scientific and technological achievements. Cultural fusion created enduring artistic, intellectual, and social legacy. Greek and Eastern traditions merged to form new identity. Hellenistic civilization became bridge between classical Greece and later empires. Legacy continued to shape Mediterranean and Near Eastern history. Macedonia began as a small, rugged kingdom. Its people were hardy, skilled in mountain warfare. Few imagined its potential beyond northern Greek territories. Life was shaped by harsh land and climate. Kings consolidated power carefully through diplomacy and alliances. Local tribes were united under a single authority. Military reforms transformed armies into disciplined, cohesive forces. Small kingdom grew stronger with every strategic reform. Philip II reshaped Macedonia into a regional powerhouse. Greek city-states were brought under Macedonian influence systematically. The phalanx formation strengthened infantry. Cavalry redefined mobility. Neighbors watched as Macedonia's power expanded steadily. Economy and resources fueled the kingdom's growing strength. Agricultural surplus supported soldiers and urban populations efficiently. Gold, silver, and trade revenues funded royal projects. Infrastructure improvements connected cities and reinforced administrative control. Alexander inherited this disciplined, well-resourced, and ambitious kingdom. He unified Macedonia's power with vision and military genius. Conquests extended influence across Persia, Egypt, and Asia Minor. Macedonia transformed from regional state into continental empire. Military campaigns demonstrated strategic brilliance and relentless ambition. Sieges, phalanx maneuvers, and cavalry charges succeeded consistently. Army logistics enabled rapid, long-distance expansion effectively. Soldiers' loyalty and organization were key to success. Local governance adapted to new imperial territories carefully. Satraps maintained control while respecting local customs largely. Integration of administration ensured smooth operation of empire. Conquered regions were connected politically, economically, and culturally. Cities founded by Alexander became cultural and economic centers. Alexandria emerged as hub for trade and learning. Urban planning reflected Greek ideals, blended with local styles. Markets, ports, and libraries fostered knowledge exchange widely. Trade and commerce linked distant provinces to empire effectively. Goods, technology, and ideas flowed along secure trade routes. Economic stability supported both army and civilian populations. Agriculture, mining, and production reinforced imperial power permanently. Hellenistic culture spread across empire, blending Greek and Eastern traditions. Art, literature, and philosophy flourished in urban centers. Education and scholarship advanced science, astronomy, and mathematics. Cultural fusion became enduring legacy of Macedonian rule. Military innovation influenced generations of commanders and empires. Tactics, formations, and siege techniques shaped warfare globally. Alexander's strategies became templates for future military campaigns. Macedonia's army exemplified power and disciplined coordination. Alexander's ambition inspired successors and emerging empires universally. His vision showed unity could stretch across continents effectively. Macedonia became a model for governance, strategy, and integration. Empire set standards in political, military, and cultural terms. Even after fragmentation, Macedonian influence endured in successor states. Ptolemaic Egypt, Seleucid Persia, and Antigonid Macedonia persisted regionally. Hellenistic civilization reshaped politics, science, and cultural practices. Foundations of Macedonian Empire influenced Rome and later empires. Small kingdom evolved into power that changed the known world. Transformation combined military, economic, and cultural innovation seamlessly. Empire demonstrated potential of vision, ambition, and leadership. Macedonia's rise remains a testament to strategic brilliance. Legacy of Macedonia is enduring across centuries and regions. Cultural, military, and administrative innovations persisted historically. Empire's story continues to inspire leaders and scholars worldwide. Its influence resonates in Mediterranean, Near East, and beyond. From humble origins to global dominance, Macedonia excelled remarkably. Kings, generals, and citizens contributed to empire's extraordinary growth. Unity, strategy, and culture formed the backbone of power. Macedonia's transformation shaped history and defined the ancient world.